All right. Hello and good evening. This is Ibanag and welcome to my streaming Sunday fun day. For tonight, we are still in Mexico driving around, pero this time, I'll be also on Discord. Tapos, I will be joined by Summer Else.
Hello.
Hello. Ayan.
Nag
So, ha?
nag ano yung tawag dun? Stream, ay art stream?
Hindi. Forza.
Or yes, sa YouTube?
Oo.
Ah, okey.
Ikaw ba?
Wala, baka mag-ano lang ako, nakakatamad maglaro. Ay, tama, nakakatamad maglaro.
Yes. Kumusta ang ano? Kumusta ang...
Yung art market,
Oo.
nakakapagod siyempre.
Madaming tao.
Wala masyado, ano
Aha.
lang,
Ano lang. Sakto lang.
oo.
Mm. Malungkot ba yung day 2?
Late na ako nakaano, eh, kasi nga may seminar pa akong pinuntahan.
Aha.
And ayun. Saka parang ang tagal ng oras ng day 2.
Oo. Kasi,
Ewan ko, for some odd reason, parang ang tagal, napansin lang namin ang tagal namin nakatambay, pero parang feeling namin isang oras na siya, pero 20 minutes, parang ganun pa lang pala yung lumilipas.
ah so, so, lesser ba yung crowd ng day 2 versus day 1?
In terms of sales kasi, mas malaki yung kita nung
Day 1.
day 2
Day 2.
kaysa day 1.
Oo. Nagkita kayo ni Grace?
Oo naman, alam mo naman 'di kami magkita dun. Although ano kami, as in opposite ends
Ah,
ng ta's meron dun mga rocking chair. Eh, malapit si Grace dun. Sabi
oh,
niya gusto niyang i-try kaso ang dami, laging may nakapuwesto. Ta's parang kahit ingress pa lang
may
may
mga
nakaupo na
nakatambay
dun.
na.
Oo. Buti na lang 'di na ako nagwo-work 'pag Mondays.
Yes. Ano yan? Pinili mo?
Parang papasok gano'n. Dati
Ah,
Friday siya,
oo.
buti yung Mondays ko nag-free up nung anong tawag dun? Nung nag-free up yung Monday nung nagkaroon ako ng ano, ng work ng Fridays.
Ah, di ayos na din. At least iwas sa ano, Monday rush.
Oo. Saka parang 'pag ganito, at least may one day pahinga pa.
Oo.
Ah,
Oh, ano na?
ano na, anong
What's the tea?
anong what's the tea?
Ba't di ako nakasama? May tinatry ako dito sa Horizon eh. Parang totoong mga players na yung ka-race mo.
Parang ano, online keme?
Oo. Parang mga random people. Pero naghihintay pa ako ng ano.
Na sa lobby?
Oh, kumbaga parang nasa lobby pa kasi parang may naka-announce pa na event in progress. Ganun.
Hmm.
Ayaw mo talaga siya i-try mag ano, may controller.
Nakakatamaan. So, what are you willing to give up in exchange for $10 million?
$10 million?
Mm.
My
Oo.
nationality.
Just kidding. Tapos meron dito, my job. Take it.
Take it. It's yours.
Iyon na.
Oh,
Exchange for, kahit nga ano eh, iyon na yung 9 million, akin $1 million. Masaya pa rin ako.
dollars yun. Yung sa
Ay,
RuPaul nga, parang yung reward pa nga, ay reward, yung price pa nga lang kapag manalo ka daw dun, $200,000. Tapos parang 5M na yun dito. Parang shit,
mm.
makakabili
Parang
na ako ng
isang
totoong Mini Cooper.
Mini Cooper, yan. Saka decent housing na rin yan sa province.
Oo.
Hmm, ito, dating over 30. Because dating is hard, no matter how old you are.
Pero feel ko kapag you're over 30,
Mas
parang
madali,
mas, hindi, parang mas practical.
manageable.
Parang
Yeah,
you're
practical.
after the more practical aspects. Wala na yung parang long game, yung
Palit-palit
parang
pa yun.
multiple dating, whatever, ganun.
Yeah.
Hello.
Huh?
Ano pa?
Bakit, ah, bakit, ay hindi pala 'to Axie. Hindi Axie 'to.
Anong aksi? Yung ano?
Hindi kasi
Yung
dun sa thread, parang may sumisingit na mga Axie na ads.
ew.
Ano yun? Eto, am I self-sabotaging? In
Hmm.
my 20s, I was more go with the flow and ended up in relationships that probably should have ended sooner. I've tried to put a lot of effort into dating and date with more intention. Now I find myself anxious when dating. But it's that the other person isn't that into me or looking for incompatibilities. Basically, looking for any reason that we are not meant to be in order to end things. I've recognized somewhat that when my anxiety kicks in and often try to discuss with my partners, wow, partners, plural form, my concerns and doubts to maintain transparency. Transparency. However, I found the last few times I've done this, it's caused the other person to cut and run on. Bakit? Mahirap
Okay.
bang maging transparent? It's making me question if I am approaching these conversations right. Is this ultimately a good thing? As the other person isn't that interested, thus I am better off. Or am I somehow shifting the dynamic and ruining something when it's too early? Mas more of
Hmm.
the dodging a bullet than
Oo nga.
ruining something too early. Eh di kung na-ruin early on, di ba parang mas okay yun? Kesa
Fa-
naman sa mas nasa invested, ano ka na.
yeah. Parang habang hindi pa, ano, you're not in too deep. Parang
Mm.
ganun. Hello daw, sabi ni Marge.
Hello,
Hello
Marge.
din daw, sabi ni E.
Buti gising pa siya ngayong oras.
Oh, sarap ng tulog niya kaninang hapon eh.
Oo, sana all may tulog. Do people get over the fantasy of the one? Ang haba, nakakatamad magbasa.
Hindi, just by that sentence, ano, ah, feel ko majority hindi. Kasi we will always have that
Soft
perfect
guy?
picture ng ano, ng partners natin, parang ganun.
Mhm. Okay. Question for the women, for a guy with awful intuition. Ano yun? I suck at reading between the lines, just calling it for what it is. I think she's into me, she's not. I think she's not, she is, etc. You get the idea.
Ano, ano?
Twice, parang ano, parang shuffle between she's into you, she's not that into you, parang ganon.
Over
Tapos
the
yun,
same person.
oo. Tapos
Okay.
ano yun, twice gotten the I'm too busy response when asking to meet up after exchanging messages for about 2 weeks. First time I believed it, now just feeling like she wants me to leave her alone. Yay or nay, I get that it can be difficult and scary to just tell someone you're not interested. So I'm not sure if what she's trying to say. I think 2 weeks of back and forth is enough to assume she's not interested anymore. But if I'm wrong, I don't want to insult her by politely ending the convo either, or ghosting, which I won't do. Yes, I'm a
Parang,
dumbass for
parang toxic.
parang yung typical mind games na naman to na ano eh. Parang
Oh.
diretsuhin nyo na lang
Oh.
para hindi na
Eh,
magsayangan ng oras.
ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, yun nga lang din. Then, if she says I'm too busy and does not suggest a date to reschedule, then she's likely not into it and just doesn't want to say it. If she says it twice, then you can be pretty sure that she doesn't want to meet. Yeah, actually.
Mm.
Ano yun? Yung typical saying na if gusto, may paraan.
Oo nga.
Pag ayaw, may dahilan. Parang ganun.
Pero siguro kapag youths ka pa, parang
Mm.
kaya mo pa yan, gano'n, gano'n. Pero ako kasi parang even before kapag yung parang yung gano'n pa, yung parang mind games ko, parang torture, wag na, yoko na.
Pero nakakapagod, no?
Oh,
Parang,
especially for someone like me pa na overthinker.
oo.
Ganun.
Itong geopolitics na 'to parang sa lahat ng thread lumalabas.
Ano yun?
Ewan ko.
Please no politics.
Secure dating and early efforts. Hello. I'd love people's thoughts on how much effort you expect in the early stages of dating. I learned more anxious attachment and always held texting to equating to the like me, but I am actually ah, but am actively growing past that and how much effort you expect. Ano yun? Anong
Ano?
during the date? Details
Uh-huh.
below. Generalized but reoccurring theme for me. I am 31 and have always been in short, long term relationships with the intent of something more long term. After some reflection, I am challenging myself to open up more, be more vulnerable, ask more questions about someone. I am doing this because I feel like I don't fully show them who I am because I am always looking to be in a relationship. More often than not, things dwindle and interest is lost on their part. What are healthy examples and expectations of feeling wanted when dating while exploring how you feel? For me, I noticed that feeling of being wanted and desires always help with going forward in dating and relationships. Parang syempre, parang dapat lang na mafe-feel mo na you're being wanted kasi parang para saan pa, 'di ba, kung hindi lang din naman.
Yeah, pero kasi wala ganun, iba yung culture nila, eh, parang it's more like, ah, parang nagde-date sila to get the feel kung
Mm,
ka-vibe nga ba nila yung isa't isa, parang gano'n.
oo, parang vibe check muna.
Oo.
Hmm,
Sa'tin kasi parang vibe check, mukha bang okey 'to,
oo.
parang gano'n.
Ano yun, mga tipong tsundere na ano, yung sa mga anime na mga pakipot pa. Parang mas ano ba, mas okey yung ano, compiled na lang na ano sa Facebook. Kaso kasi may ads nakaka-irritate.
Anong yung may babasahin?
Yung may
Nagbabasa?
na yung
Yung may
text to
nagbabasa?
speech, oo.
Oo.
How do you be a good partner or how do you become a good partner? So I, 34 female, am in a good relationship. We've been together for 6 months now. I've spent the absolute majority of my adult life single. I've
Mhm.
had of relationships have been very casual. Anyway, how do I be a good girlfriend? I don't understand how to get what I need from the relationship, i.e., bring up any issues I may have and still be a good girlfriend that isn't always nagging or acting unhappy. I am fairly forthright and I'll calmly tell my partner something I'm unhappy about. But then I get worried and complaining too much and apologize for bringing it up. Any other tips for generally being a good partner? Nakakatawa yung ano yun.
Hmm,
Ano yun? Always, that isn't always nagging or acting unhappy or parang how to avoid zoning out. Or,
paano ba? Pero kasi if you're really like that, parang your partner should also be able to understand you or
oh, and
yung
adjust.
kumbaga you should both adjust to your relationship, hindi lang siya one way na ano,
Mm-mm.
parang gano'n.
Mm-mm.
Kasi ang hirap na yung isa lang yung
Nag-a-adjust
gumagalaw.
palagi.
Oo.
Oo. Minsan lang yung sa Facebook biglang nakakatamad magbasa.
Go!
Saan nga ba yun? Ta's may ads na naman. Saan nga ba? Ano nga bang ano yun? Ayun, story time Reddit. Ay, kita pa yung ano. Ay, hindi, natatakpan naman pala. Yung, yung
Yung
pinapag-orderan namin ng lunch sa ano, sa work. Ano ba yung mga ano dito? Wait nga. Grab music. Kalimutan ko ang ba yan.
sa Twitch ba, kapag nagpe-play ka ng music, may ano ba yon? May
Ano?
strict ba sila?
Itong inano ko yung copyright free sa stream feeds para hindi ka ma-DMCA strike.
Ganon. So parang
Mm.
hindi ka lang basta-basta pwede mag-play din.
Mm.
Ah,
Biglang bagal yung internet. Eto, girls that gave the nice guy a chance, how did it go?
walang sounds.
Ha? Wala?
Wala akong marinig. Wala pa rin akong marinig.
Wala?
Nagpe-play ba? Nagpe-play ba?
Alin?
Yung ano?
Alin?
Yung nasa Facebook ka na ba?
Oh, wait
Wala
nga,
akong
check ko
marinig.
nga. Talaga ba?
Oo.
Kahit yung text-to-speech?
Yun na ba yung ginagawa mo? Ikaw lang narinig ko eh.
Ayan, meron na.
Ako wala. Ay, kasi nakamute yung ano ko. Yung,
Ulit nga, ulit.
hindi, nakamute yung Twitch mo.
Okay.
Sa ano na lang, sa Discord.
Ano na?
Sa Discord. Share stream.
Okay. Ayan.
Teka. Saan yung mouse ko?
Ayaw na magpakita sa'yo ng mouse mo.
Ayan. Okay.
Okay.
Girls that gave the
Yun.
nice guy a chance. How did it go? He was lovely. I met him when I was taking art classes at a college. He was doing the class as a second subject as he needed more qualifications to go to university. We had a really lovely first year together. I met his family and they were also really nice people until he failed the exam. And I didn't. When he got his results at the same time as me, he went ballistic and said in anger, "Why do I always have to settle for second choice?"
Competitive
And
si
I said,
Kuya.
"That's not true, youth." But I didn't get time to finish what I was going to say. He interrupted with, "Don't think you were even my second choice. You were just available. And no wonder why. You're defective, so I could be certain no one was going to try and take you away from me. I have a disability." And he was a nasty, jealous little bastard underneath that nice exterior. And a few more details. If you are interested in a bit more, I'm profoundly deaf from birth. Use hearing aids now, but they are only to boost what small capacity I have to hear some sounds, and my main communication outside the internet is lip reading and BSM. This is why my punctuation slash spelling and sometimes grammar can be hard to read. I have to remember all the rules without much of an auditory prompt. See, when people naturally pause in speech, my brain is still trying to catch up with that lip shape. So commas and things are curious little additions to me. I do try though, and appreciate any direct comments. If I've made something totally unreadable, or turned a good point into a mess of bad punctuation. Now, a bit more about the situation. I think he was a deeply competitive person, more so
Competitive
than I
na.
realized. It was
Ngayon lang niya
convenient for me,
na-realize.
because he didn't regard me in any way as competition. He was only doing the art classes for the qualification, to add to those he needed for his chosen subject. Then suddenly he failed, and I of all people passed. Perhaps to him, I went in that instant from girlfriend, disabled, passive and no threat to his self-esteem, to winner of the exam race and total threat. Anyway, it taught me something about how deceptive people can be, and a bit about attitudes to disability, and a bit about relationships. He went off to university. It wasn't his first choice of uni, but then, he didn't have the grades for that. He
Na.
seemed great. He
Deserve.
showed off and worked through some early issues. He ignored me for days at a time to play video games with his friends. Not even a text of hello or sorry, I'm busy. His mom was diagnosed with cancer about a year in, and I moved in with him so I could spend as much time as possible with her and support him as she was terminal. 8 months after she passed away, a friend of mine found his profile on the dating app we met on. Currently active with a paid subscription. Same exact profile I met him with. When confronted, he said he was just trying to make friends, and that I couldn't count it as cheating,
No.
because
Oh,
nobody
shit.
ever messaged him back. We tried to work things out, but he was found a month later on the same dating site by the same friend. I wish I could say that was the end, but I gave him
Ah,
another
shit,
chance.
no.
Over the next year, he became the most hateful, miserable man I've ever met, and I could no longer mentally handle it. I moved out. I was coming out of this
Ba't
feeling
ganon?
really bad
Buti na.
and toxic at
Ikaw ba kapag kunyari ganyan, are you the type of person na nag-aano ng mga, "Oh, I'll give you a second chance, blah, blah, blah."
Depende sa severity naman ng
Ng
kasalanan.
ginawa? Oo.
Oo. Saka
Hmm,
yung impact at parang ba? Pero
okey.
ano ba? Parang most likely
Mm.
magbibigay ng second chance. Pero kung cheating, parang confirmed, siyempre ano
Ano
na
na?
yun, bi bitch na. Kung confirmed na clear as day na cheating,
Oo.
siyempre bi bitch na talaga. Pero kung tipong puwede mo pang bigyan ng benefit of the doubt na parang nabigyan lang nung mali siya, gano'n.
Mm.
Parang puwede pa siguro palagpasin.
Okey.
Well, titingnan mo rin kasi yung kung ano yung dating sa ibang tao. Kung tingin din parang gano'n, ano ba ang pulso ng bayan? Kasi minsan
Mm.
malay mo hindi gano'n ka-reliable yung
Aha.
na
Hello?
parang
Hello?
parang
Parang na-cut ka.
hello? Hindi, natigil patigil-tigil nga ako
Okey.
na parang ano ba, depende basta depende parang kung tipong puwedeng kung benefit of the doubt din siya or
Mm.
situation baka puwede pa palagpasin or bigyan ng second chance. Pero kung 100% clear as day na ano, na cheating talaga, bye bitch na talaga.
So, kapag gano'n, parang wala na talagang wala na talagang bahid ng second chance. Kahit, kunyari,
Mm.
ano man gawin ng person to,
Mm.
kumbaga, to redeem himself,
Mm.
themselves.
Oo. Kasi parang 'pag nag-cheat ka na tahasang cheating talaga, parang need mo na talaga yung other person
Oo.
by going with this other person, parang gano'n.
Yeah.
Abusive relationships, so I promised myself that I would try to find a nice guy to date. Well, I had a first date with this one guy. We'll call him Tim. It was a fine date. He was nice, and we had fine conversations. I didn't feel any immediate chemistry, but I was also not used to dating guys who weren't blatant bad guys. So I figured that was why I didn't feel an immediate connection. I told myself I'd go on one more date with him and see if the connection grew in any way. So we go on a second date a week later. It was a short date. We had an early dinner, and I was back home 90 minutes after he picked me up to drive me to dinner again. No sparks, but he was nice, and it wasn't a bad date. So I told myself I'd go on one more date with him, and that would be the deciding factor. I was still wrestling in my head with the idea that I was just not attracted to him because he wasn't a bad guy, and maybe I was just scared of nice guys. Well, on our third date, he asked me to move in with him.
Grabe naman, move in
What?
agad.
His health insurance plan.
Ha?
Make sure that the
Ano daw?
he told me he loved
Ano move in tapos isasama siya sa insurance plan. Grabe naman yun. Although wala naman
Parang,
sigurong masama dun
parang,
sa health
pa-
insurance plan, pero yung move in?
parang hindi love companionship yung after ni Guy. Go.
I very gently told him that he was a great guy, but he was clearly more invested than I was, and that it wasn't fair to him.
Baka masyado lang din talagang invested si Kuya.
Masyado bang parang at that early, parang I don't want to, parang hindi ako naniniwala na that's what you call invested in a relationship. Parang gano'n.
Parang for me, masyado siyang invested na after the third date, hayaan mo na siya agad mag-move in. Parang ni-lock in na agad si ate girl.
Mm, mm,
Normal ba siya sa'yo?
pero sa akin hindi.
Hindi, 'di ba?
Oo.
Parang masyado siyang parang gusto niya na lang i-lock in si ate girl kaya parang inaano na niya na mag-move in. Parang siyang inaya ng marriage in a way,
Yeah, oo.
without the marriage itself.
That he
True.
deserved to be with someone who was equally attracted to him at the time, but confused, and we parted ways. Next
Sali ka?
day, he posts a lot.
Go Marge! Sali ka.
Hindi ka niya naririnig, naka-earphones ako. Sali ka? Naantok na eh.
Oh.
Sige, sisigaw ako kapag may question. O kapag may questions ka daw, isigaw ko lang sa
Sige.
kanya.
Sige.
Na-warm up ka na ba?
Warm up.
Long rant on Facebook about how nice guys finish last. Girls only want to date bad guys. He opened his heart and his home to this ungrateful girl, only to be slapped with a rejection. He left it.
Typical, nice guy incel moves eh. Yung pag turn down.
Nice guy.
Typical nice guy incel moves. Na,
Anong incel?
yung mga tipong, ang tawag doon, Ah, yung may nice guy once you break their hearts, parang they're not really nice guys, parang
Okay,
gano'n.
okay, okay.
Parang
Yung,
ipapamukha sa'yo na, "Why do you have to choose the bad guys? I'm a nice guy, you're supposed to choose me." Gano'n.
oo. Pero meron akong na, hindi ko maalala kung documentary or sa Netflix or sa Nat Geo or Discovery, parang gano'n. Parang yung parang science daw na kung bakit yung bakit yung mga women na attract dun sa mga mysterious bad boy
Oo,
type, ganun ganon. Parang
oo,
it's not about yung bad boy persona nila,
mm,
pero more of like yung pinoproject nilang ah tough guy
mhm,
na aura, ganon. Hindi yung pagka-mysterious and
mm.
and yun nga, but it's not about being mysterious and being a bad boy. It's more of yung kumbaga they
Parang
see that as a
what you see is what you get.
hindi.
Unlike
Parang they see that as uh, paano nga ba pag-explain yun? Kumbaga sa animal kingdom ganon.
mm,
yung sila yung mga
Giga Chad,
parang giving off the Giga Chad vibes.
full of testosterone, ano.
Oo, gano'n. Na kunyari yung may mga nice versus yung mga nice guy na parang although nice guy, gentleman, whatever, when it comes to the primal instinct of things, hindi nakikita yun ng mga female sa kanila. Parang ganun.
Hmm,
Parang ganun yung pagkakaalala ko.
mm,
Ngayon.
hmm.
Okay, tuloy.
Up for a few days and then blocked me. Self-proclaimed nice guys almost never are. If you're really a nice
Mm.
person, you don't need to
Parang,
advertise. Then you are
although,
nice guy.
yun din siguro, parang nauuso ngayon yung parang, ay, papa-nice guy ako. Para ano,
Mm.
ganun. Baka may, ewan ko, siguro may shift in trend. Or, ewan, kanya-kanyang tastes, preferences.
Mm.
Ikaw ba,
So,
saan ka
parang
mas na, mas na-attract? Sa nice guy or sa mysterious
sa mysterious
mysterious
ano,
bad boy?
bad boy.
Oo.
Yung sa legit na nice guy, parang mafe-feel mo naman kung legit siyang nice guy versus ano lang, yung eme-emeng nice guy kuno pero
Ano yung
incel
mo? Ano
din.
yung parang pinaka ah ano ba tawag dito? Yung pinaka factors or elements
Hmm,
para malaman mo kung genuine yung pagka-nice guy nila
pagiging nice guy.
oo.
Depende kung ano,
Or kung parang pasikat lang yung
sikat
pa-nice
lang
guy.
'no.
Oo. Yeah.
Yung kung paano siya mag-act sa ibang tao, parang yun yung mas tinitignan ko
Mm-mm.
more than how he would act towards me, yung gano'n.
Mm-mm.
Saka parang isa nga sa mga advice ng mga workmates ko
Mm-mm.
na in choosing someone in general, parang, ano nga ba yun? How they parang titignan mo yung kalimutan ko na, basta yung isa dun yung fighting style. Ano yung fighting style niyo pareho?
Anong fighting style?
Ha?
Paano
Kung
fighting style?
Parang kung ano yung approach niyo when it comes to conflict, kung tipong bungangera ka ba or
Okay, okay.
bungangero or kalmado ka ba or passive ka lang na parang, "Sige lilipas din yan," or ikaw ba yung confrontational type, gano'n?
Mm.
Or
Alright,
ikaw ba
gets,
yung
gets.
avoidant type, parang gano'n. Fighting style,
Pa-
street
iba,
fighter.
iba inisip ko sa fighting style eh.
Kung Wing Chun ba,
Kung Wing Chun ko,
Wushu,
drunken
karate.
technique, ganun, judo, mga ganong fighting style yung alam ko.
Mga anong tawag dun, tiger style, dragon
Oo.
style, cricket, monkey, mga gano'n.
Okay.
Sa consistency din,
Mm-mm.
parang mamaya the next day ihip ng hangin, ta's mamaya ibang okey na naman, ta's mamaya hindi na naman.
True.
Yun. Saka rin pala, check niyo rin how he act towards with his friends and kumbaga paano siya ma-influence ng friends niya, gano'n. And ng ano, ng family, parang gano'n.
Oo. More of like,
Saka
check check mo
sa
yung crowd he's with
ano,
parate.
yung trap, yeah,
They're with.
yeah. Saka tawag dun, ano pa yung isa? Ah, choose ano, kumbaga choose someone who would be a good parent to your child kung kahit hindi naman wala kayong plano.
Yeah.
Kumbaga, your child cannot choose their parent, but you can choose your partner, parang gano'n.
Oo.
Yun.
Guys who really are nice, but in an overbearing way. No girl worth being with for the long term wants to be worshipped. I did end up marrying a truly nice guy. He made me laugh. He had his own life, and didn't expect me to be his whole world, or for me to change my life for him. He didn't play games. He listened to what I had to say, and didn't come to me with a lot of assumptions about who I was supposed to be. He looks out for me, but knows I can look out for myself just fine. He's kind and I
Yes.
have never met a person who didn't like him. He doesn't advertise his niceness, because there's no need. It would make as much sense as sunshine advertising itself.
Oo nga.
I almost gave
'Di
the
ba?
nice guy
Parang di
Correct.
mo kailangang ipagnuknukan na,
True, true.
ta's minsan pa 'di ba, usually kung sino pa yung nagsasabing hindi sila nice guy, sila talaga yung nice guy. Baliktad.
a chance, but after he showed up at my house uninvited
Oh,
and
shit.
made my dad super angry, had a strict no boys allowed rule until I hit 18. I was 15 at the time. I gave up. He begged me to give him a chance because we both liked World of Warcraft. That was it. Glad I did give up because of stalking. Inappropriate fight touches at lunch. Creepy talks about what he wanted to do to me. Trying to convince me to sneak out in the middle of the night to see him. And etc. absolutely terrified me. I haven't seen him in quite a while, but I'm honestly still scared to be alone in that county. I have a BF. Now that doesn't do that, but I never go visit my parents without him, or stay at their house alone. I'm now 23 and still worry. I
Grabe
found him
23
very
is
smart at
ano,
first.
Scary
kinda
yun, eh.
young. Kaya parang para ma-experience mo yun, scary.
Yeah.
Is scary.
But after dating for a while and sleeping together, he proceeded to become the worst misogynist I've ever known. Tried to control my choices in food, clothing, friend, political stance, everything. And when I ended things,
Di ko
he
gets yung mga
proceeded to
ganyang
share to his
people.
friends.
Parang,
Controlling masyado
yung parang
or
kailangan,
nagma-micromanage?
parang kailangan dapat ito yung favorite mo. Kung hindi, ayaw ko na sa'yo.
Oo, Tapos kailangan every Wednesday naka-pink tayo, matchy-matchy.
Oo. Ah,
Were also my new friends at that time. All the things I shared to him in confidence while we were dating. And when I finally blocked him from everything, he tried to reveal things in class, group chats where our classmates, outside the friend circle, were members of. It was the worst dating experience I've ever had. And he wasn't even good looking. Needless to say, I won't ever indulge in charity cases again. We had a messy, volatile on and off.
charity case. Tatawa ako kapag
Charity.
yun yung term nila sa mga
Sa mga
ganong people.
I'm mag-give ng chance.
Oo. Give me a chance. Blah, blah, blah.
Thing going for a long time. He cheated on me, as well as the next several girls he dated. Then I moved away,
The
developed a
nerve.
hardcore independent streak, and became career driven. While he got with and married one of my best friends. They've been together for 10 years now, married for about 6, and they have a rainbow baby.
Oh, what's a rainbow baby?
Meaning yun.
Have shaped up, and we all had dinner once a month or so. I was also with a genuinely nice guy at one point. An unfortunate series of life circumstances at the time kept us from officially making a go of things, and he got with another girl who ended up pregnant a month into their relationship. They got married and have 3 children.
Dami
Out of all the
naman.
people I was with, he was the only one I would have considered a future with.
Huh?
Reg-
Na-consider pa niya magkaroon ng future with that guy? Totoo ba?
Baka wala
Regardless
daw
of how
siyang
many
choice.
times I said I
No. Yun na lang.
wasn't interested in a relationship, he continued making moves and flirting, telling me that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me, and that we were soulmates. He told me that he was having a rough home life, and that I was the only one in the world who didn't think he was creepy for the way he looked, or would give up on him. Nobody ever said that he was ugly. He would constantly ask if he was handsome.
May term kami dito eh. Nung mga workmates ko dati sa Gymboree.
Ano?
Yung malamala.
Ano? Ano ibig sabihin nun?
Malamala. Hindi, basta ang ginamit lang kasi siya nung isa naming workmate na malamala. Sabi ko, ano yun? Ano yung ibig sabihin ng malamala? Malabong pangit, malabong gwapo or maganda? Pero
Aha.
parang ganun yung ano, parang in between.
Malamala.
Malamala. Oh, malabong pangit, pogi or maganda.
Okay.
And he was not bad looking at all. Just lacking in some hygiene skills like wearing deodorant and showering regularly.
Grabe to. Parang big no-no yung mag-deodorant na lang, di pa kayang gawin.
And dental care. He seemed really insecure about the way he looked, to the point that the insecurity became the most noticeable thing about the way he carried himself. No amount of compliments or reassurance would soothe him. I showed up for his football games and performances to support him, and he never showed up for my plays or finished small tasks that I asked him as a friend to complete. Whenever addressed, he would break down and say that he was the worst person in the world and that he would die for me. He eventually stopped talking to me and moved on to somebody else. I honestly think he needed more attention and love from his parents, and was using the desire for a girlfriend to fill the emotional gap. I feel bad for him, but I'm glad to have some distance. Long ago,
Girlfriend daw kasi ang makakapag-solve ng problema niya.
Toxic.
in the time of myths and legends, when ancient heroes still roamed the earth, and before Atlantis was pulled into the sea, I was the nice guy. I was the nice guy who was 100 pounds overweight, who wore hiking boots to his suburban school, and paired them with cargo shorts and heavy jackets. I was the nice guy who had no social skills, because I spent
Parang di ako naniniwala na nice guy yan.
and reading for a
I'm the
Kasi
nice
intro,
guy.
Intro pa
Idin
lang, eh. Pagka-intro pa lang
oh, para
I'm the nice guy.
okay.
Okay, edi ikaw
Sure,
na.
yeah.
genres. It's important for me to speak out to anybody reading this thread who may be wishing the same thing that I did. That a girl would just give me a chance. That's not how it works. A Hyperborean wanderer. That's not how it's ever worked, nor how it will ever work. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can start taking steps toward having a normal social life. If you're anything like I was, you fill in your lack of real life social skills with the social interactions you absorb from fiction. The guy's rejected at first, but has to win her over. Or she doesn't know the guy exists, and he has to perform some grand gesture to attract her attention. Or she isn't interested, and so he has to convince her to give him a chance. These tropes feel real, because they get played out again and again on the screen and page. But they're just like the trope of the lone master swordsman who defeats a seething horde of foes with nothing but raw skill and a bamboo reed. In real life, we know that he'd just be mobbed in seconds and get shanked in the kidney by some stupid goblin. But we love the drama of it, so we give it a pass. The thing is, the rest of society already understands this about the romantic gestures in fiction. They instinctively know that these things are cute in a story, but are as fake as the lone swordsman. It's people like us that get sucked into the delusion, with no direct experience with what is real and normal human relationships. We try to reenact what we've seen work in all of the stories we've seen and read and heard. It's logical, in a way, if you consider it from our point of view. A philosopher might call it something like a Plato's cave situation. People like us are watching the shadows dance on the wall and trying to interpret the outside world through them.
Ba't parang
It doesn't really matter
ang
how
dami niyang
or why.
sinasabi, parang feel ko tuloy wala siyang sinasabi.
Wala ng sense, oo. Parang nag-zone out na tuloy ako.
Parang 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 pa-deep siya.
Oo.
Gano'n.
Yung sa sobrang deep, parang wala
Parang
nang
ayoko na.
make sense. Oo, mag-zone out na lang ako.
We
Correct.
got to that place. The point is that these tropes are not real and never will be. If a girl isn't interested in you, she is never going to be interested in you. You can't change that. Don't
True.
trying to change her mind or win her over, or get her to give you a chance are overbearing actions, and may in fact scare her. It's not normal, and it's not okay.
Ano yung music na yun? Sa'yo ba yun?
Yung sa Reddit.
Okay.
Naano na ba natin to? Itong
Yung
what don't men understand. Parang feeling ko na ano ko na. Saka
Ewan ko, baka hindi ako kasama ko. Baka iba kasama ko doon.
Curious, ano to? Formal or people? Sa akin ba?
Ano?
Yung mga formerly overweight people, what actually help you lose weight? Ako parang ano na lang. Tawag dun? Basta 'pag depressive moments ko parang wala akong ganang kumain kaya
Mm.
dun ako pumapayat.
Ah, pero
Let's see kung
'di ba yung iba parang parang ako lumalaki yung tiyan.
hmm, stress feeder, dalawa kasi yun, eh.
Oo.
Parang ano yung isa? Basta stress feeder yung kain ng kain 'pag
Yeah.
depressed.
Ay, meron nga nung kailan ba yun? Nung this week lang,
Hmm,
parang may lunch kami dun sa ah, bahay ng parents ni Marge, ganun. Kasi nandun yung pinsan niya.
hmm,
So, punta kami, parang lunch break ko, ganun. Just before
hmm,
my lunch break, parang may super nakaka-bad trip na pinagawa sa akin sa work. Kasi
hmm,
parang gusto mo bilangin ko per piece yung mga LED panels? Parang, the
hmm,
fuck? Kailangan na daw nila 5 minutes ago. Ganun.
oo,
Anyway, parang bad trip. Parang bad trip na bad trip ako. Tapos pagdating ko doon,
hmm.
nung kumakain kami ng lunch, parang naubos ko yung dinuguan. Tapos parang,
Dinuguan.
tapos parang, stress eating ba ako?
Hindi ka
Hindi,
na-stress.
hindi. Walang
Masarap
stress
lang,
doon.
baka masarap yung ano, baka masarap lang yung dinuguan. Or ano pala eh, vampira ka pala eh, no? Kaya,
Give
kaya
me
mo gusto
blood.
yung dinuguan. Yun pala yung kailangan mong pagkain, vampira ka pala kasi. Ay,
Ay,
nako.
nako.
Tingnan natin. Baka mamaya mag-lose din ako ng weight. Charot. Ba't walang sound? Ayun.
Tell yourself later. It's a little psychological trick that seems to work for some reason. The human brain doesn't like never, but it can handle not now just fine. Weird, I know. If you want to exercise more, find an exercise you genuinely enjoy. If you hate running, you'll never be motivated to run. If you want to eat healthier, you have to find healthy foods you enjoy. If you think Greek yogurt is gross, you aren't going to eat it for breakfast instead of a bagel with cream cheese. Don't drink your calories. A soda does absolutely.
Kaya ako love na love ko yung right and light eh.
Ano yun?
Zero, yung zero calorie na ano, na drink. Lalo na yung root beer na lang.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos may study nga na yung mga zero calorie and zero sugar drinks, parang
Mm.
they're safe and good naman. Lalo na for people with diabetes.
Zero fat.
Mm.
Nalala ko tuloy Coke Zero. Parang,
Oo, Coke Zero.
the fuck is this? It's just water.
Talaga ba? Parang para sa'kin ano naman siya, mas nasasarapan pa nga ako dun kaysa sa
Ugh, parang tubig
regular
lang
Coke.
siya. Yung
Hindi,
regular Coke nga, it doesn't taste like Coke na eh. Parang mas
yeah,
tumamis siya ngayon. Parang yun.
yeah.
Kaya
Ayoko pa naman yung parang
Pepsi 5 ever.
uminom
Ano na?
Peps. Ayoko pa naman yung parang uminom ng ano, parang uminom ng asukal, sindamakmak na asukal.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing for you besides add unnecessary calories.
Kaya saka milk tea, kaya hindi rin ako mahilig sa milk tea.
Oh,
Sobrang kadiri, parang kumakain ako ng karanival. Ay, umiinom.
My personal rule of thumb is
ilan ba kasi yung
drink
sugar
tea
level pag
unless
milk
it
tea?
gets me drunk. All
Ako nagse-70% lang lagi.
Ugh!
Kasi pag
Ugh!
50%, pag fif
Hello?
hello?
Ano na? Kapag
Pag
sa
50%, 50, parang
oh,
wala na akong malasahan.
oh, ako zero.
Eh,
Oh, tas kapag natatamisan pa ako kapag zero, parang ayoko na sa milk tea shop na to.
ah,
you need to drink is water. I'm going to echo what other people said and tell you what I did. Calorie reduction. It's simple. There's no fancy diet that works better than any others. The only possible way to lose weight is to eat less than you burn. How I did it. My biggest problem, as with most fat people, is impulse control. I simply could not keep myself in check for 100% of the day. I could be good for most of the day.
Ito na naman yung ad. Ay,
Ayun pala
nako.
yung music na narinig ko
So
bigla.
that's really going to buy them a lot
Ba't
more
may
time,
music?
but is it really going to be enough?
Ha?
There it is, the 4 second
Sabi ko
call.
kanina, ba't
It has
may
been
music?
done. It has been done. The recon's
Ad
are
pala
holding
yun.
absolutely nothing. It fails.
Ba't ganon?
At some
Ayun.
point I was going to have a moment of weakness and stop at a gas station to get a slutty candy bar or something. Knowing this about myself, I determined the issue was access. If I had access to bad food, I was going to get it. I needed to figure out how to limit my access. The solution: I stopped bringing my check card to work. If I don't have money, I can't buy food. To be clear, I'm not recommending this at all. I would sometimes go almost 24 hours without eating, and it
Ah,
was detrimental to my energy levels and mood. The positives were I lost 100 pounds and saved a ton of money. I just can't in good conscience say someone else should do the same thing. It's just what worked for me. Consistency over intensity, both in terms of diet and
true.
exercise. As an exercise example, I kept falling into the trap of trying to reset my workouts to where I'd been at prior to gaining weight. So I'd planned workouts like a 5-mile run or an hour of CrossFit. I'd do the workouts for a couple weeks, but lose steam because they just highlighted how far I'd fallen. Left me exhausted and eroded my willpower. Instead I started easy, just go for an intentional 1-mile walk every single day. It didn't take long to start upping the distance, adding in hills, picking up the pace, jogging sections, etc. I did that for months before the workouts ever felt intense, by which time I was better prepared both physically and mentally. Same deal with eating. Instead of all salads, no nachos, I started with just saying to myself, eat whatever you want, but you are only allowed to use a small plate. Over time I
Actually,
added other things
nag-work din yung ano, yung
Yung,
choosing a small plate.
oh,
Parang
sa amin
feeling
hindi
mo,
eh.
bakit? Malalaki lahat
May,
ng
may,
plate.
hindi, medyo small plate kami ngayon dito, pero parang, round two.
Ah. Sa akin kasi parang feeling ko yung sa small plate na yun, parang ang dami ng laman.
Yeah, you get the illusion of that.
Oo.
could consistently commit to, like using MyFitnessPal to roughly track caloric intake, adding 1 day of fasting a week, limiting sugar/booze, etc. Nothing you haven't heard, but seriously, baby steps that you can sustain over time will get you where you want to go eventually. Inconsistent heroics will not. Actually weighing portions out helped me. Turns out I had no idea what a single serving was. I was astounded when I saw how much cereal is in one serving. I must have previously been eating around 2 to 3
Oh, shit.
servings.
Grabe nga rin yung calories per serving ng cereal. Eh, di ba kung kakain ka ng bowl full, parang aabot yun ng 2 to 3 calories.
Oh,
Sabihin na natin 150, 160 calories per serving. Tapos kung titriplayin mo yun, naka 400 something ka na.
tapos yung activity mo na nakaupo ka lang sa...
I started walking every night after work. I tracked my mileage and listened to podcasts. After a while I started adding a little running. The key was to just stick with it. I'd lost around 80 pounds.
Uy.
Although I will never know exactly how heavy I really got. I lost a little over 100 pounds in the course of a year, but I'm not sure there was a trick. What you need to do is figure out what caused you to be the weight that you are. For some people it's a food addiction. For some people it's depression and eating for comfort. In my case it was that I didn't really care much about my appearance or health and spent zero effort on my diet and didn't exercise much. What I needed was motivation. I had no problem fasting or cutting the amount I eat. I had no problem with eating less pleasant, but more nutritious food. And I didn't have much of a problem getting into a workout routine. I just didn't have motivation to do it because my health wasn't something I considered much, and I was with a woman who always said she preferred guys that were a little overweight and had a dad bod. I didn't have anyone else I cared to impress, so I didn't see a point in making the effort. Eventually though I started to gain more weight, and it got to the point where she said, in a very nice way, that I'd probably look better if I lost a bit of weight. Hearing that was instant motivation for me, and so with her, in mine I managed to lose quite a bit of weight, around 130 pounds total. By the end of that I was feeling so much better, I no longer was out of breath so easily, and it got to the point where, even without her for motivation, I can't see letting myself gain the weight back. Tell yourself you're thin. I know it sounds ludicrous, but hear me out. You're at a restaurant.
Luda.
Eating meat and veg or a creamy pasta. You say to yourself, well, I'm a thin person and thin people eat healthy foods regularly. I'll order the lean meat and veg like other thin people. You see a plate of cookies at work. How many does a thin person take? Maybe just one. You're thin, so obviously you should only take one. Stairs or elevator. Well, thin people take the stairs. You're a thin person, so you take the stairs. Takes more
Ginagawa ko
than
yan dati.
you can always get more
Dun
if you
sa,
Instead of
I
ano?
know the thin people feel full quicker.
sa, yung first job ko sa Affinity. BPO pa siya dati. Tapos yung building namin sa may, saan na yun? Sa Ortigas. Parang sobrang malapit kami sa podium, Emerald building, ganun. Anyway, one of those buildings there. Tapos yung offices namin nasa 8th floor, ganun. It's parang instead of mag-e-elev, nagsistairs ako kapag papasok. Kahit magbe-break ko yun, mag 7-Eleven lang ako na ganun. Parang basta puro stairs ako ganun. Nag-e-elev lang ako kapag pababa.
Kahit pang ilang floor yung pinaka mataas na ini-stairs mo?
Wala, hanggang building lang namin, 8th floor lang.
8th floor, okay. Pwede naman.
Because they eat slowly, and eat when they're hungry, not just because it tastes good. So you're eating slow, and checking for fullness, before getting seconds. Eventually these choices become habit and you never once punish or deprive yourself. You're taking one cookie because thin people, like yourself, only eat one. Not because you're a fatty who needs to lose weight and eat less. It's a great way to change your mindset, change your habits, and not beat yourself up, which can lead to backslides and failed weight loss. But your body matches your thin person habits. Big mental shift was not being afraid to leave food on the plate, especially eating out. My dietitian recommended eating until you're satisfied, not full. One friend also said something that stuck with me when I considered getting seconds on something. When I'd eaten enough, but it was so delicious I wanted more. Within a few hours you won't remember if you ate one or two. It's hard though. I'm starting to gain weight after keeping it off for years because my mental health has deteriorated and food has become a big way of pulling that brain chemical reward. Intermittent fasting. It's not for everyone, but I had a friend. Shout out to Yoga Jeff. When I was eating fast food 3 times a day and not exercising, who yes said to eat less and move more. And when I said I couldn't give up soda, he said to try the intermittent fasting. 5 days a week. I started out still eating poorly, but limiting it to 2p 6p, and I did this for a month. Arby's, McDonald's, Firehouse, all of that. I lost 10 pounds. It made sense, since I went from 3 fatty meals a day to 1 or 2. Then I started drinking diet soda, and lost another 5 lbs. Then Jeff suggested I start making the most of my 4 hours, with healthy options. I went from Big Macs to Blue Apron, and back to Panera. I started choosing healthier meals. It's not always perfect, and Lord knows I'm not bikini ready, but I went from XXXL to XL in a month. I had to pull over and use the restroom at a grocery store on the way home every day or I would get sick. That stopped immediately. My favorite go-to is pan-fried salmon and pan-fried Brussels sprouts. I still love soda, but I do mostly zero sugar these days, which I realize is still bad. but I'm doing a lot better than I was. Within 6 months I went from having to buy my bras at Lane Bryant to finally being able to buy a bra at Victoria's Secret. I know they are owned by the same
Yes.
company, and another tip: get a bra that fits. It makes
Mm.
all the difference in your body and your self-esteem. Get measured for one. Finding a sustainable routine and diet seems to be best for long-term weight loss and keeping it off.
Parang parang puro ano rin lang din naman, ang tawag dun, ang tawag dun, parang narinig mo na siya somewhere else, parang ganun.
Ah, ano pa, ano pa?
Ooh, what is the biggest red flag a woman can raise on the first date? Interesting.
Sige nga.
Yun pala eh. Pero gagawa ko rin pala ito.
Pero kahit ginawa mo, go pa rin.
Go pa rin.
Or hindi aware na red flag mo pala yun.
Oo.
Pati ikaw, di mo alam.
Oo.
Friend's girlfriend. Apparently during the first 10 minutes of dinner she...
Ulit.
Gentlemen, what is an absolute red flag a woman can raise on the first date? My brother was in the army when he was set up on a blind date by a friend's girlfriend. Apparently during the first 10 minutes of dinner she was talking about how she would be such a great and loyal army wife, and how she thought army wives were so brave and admirable, and how she would never leave him if he was injured. He had literally just met this girl. He stuck it out through dinner, faked sick and left. She pursued him pretty hard after, but he lied and told her he decided he wasn't really over his ex and wasn't ready for a relationship. He said about a month later she tried to text him with a booty call, and said she even tried to sweeten the deal by saying he didn't need to wear protection because she was on birth control. But like, how many red flags can one girl have? This takes me back to the early 20s version of me and a fine lass named Rebecca. We met at a New Year's party. She tall and artsy with some feather arrangement in her hair. I compliment.
Ad na naman.
Sale na. Mag-enjoy
That
sa
wasn't
free
me,
shipping.
that was Rebecca.
Check out deals for as low as 66 pesos. Plus, get 10% off daily.
Kaya wala man ng
Check out
option
mo na
to
yan.
skip after 5 seconds.
Nakakainis yung mga ganong ads, no?
Kiss on the cheek with the
Oo. Tapos nakakainis pa yung 1 of 2. 2
Oo.
of 2.
Yung sa Facebook pa, ang liit nung skip button, lalo na sa mobile. Pero what the hell?
Promise of a first date to start 1991. Picked her up for said date a few days later and same hair treatment. She tells me she's obsessed with birds and always wears a feather somewhere. Okay, no problem. She's still cute in full light and this just makes her quirky, right? I was just a few years older and we went to a really nice Italian place near DC. She remarks how nice to be out with a grown-up, but she's finishing college and has been dating boys. Nice. Dinner's great until dessert. The whipped cream on mine reminds her of her last boyfriend. She then tells me in great detail how she stalked him, hiding in bushes near his house to spy his hairline with his tires and covering his entire car
Pero
with
kasi,
whipped cream and eggs.
Ngayon pa lang
Is that just the funnest?
parang yung age difference nila, parang napapansin mo na dun sa
layo.
narrative eh. Oo.
Are you sure she wasn't actually a bird? I went to meet a woman from an online dating site, and at the last minute she texted to ask if I could swing by her house, which was only a few blocks away from the Starbucks we were supposed to meet at. That should have been a tip-off in retrospect, but we chatted a lot online, so I felt comfortable enough. Maybe she just needed
Stalker.
a lift or something. Instead, I come up to her house, and when she opens the door, she is wearing an ankle bracelet. She begs me to please understand how she didn't want to mention it on the dating site and to please hear her out. I was naturally uncomfortable by this point,
Anong
but
ankle
also curious,
bracelet?
so I sat down for a few
I think yung ano sa kanila, yung house arrest, parang ganon.
Okay.
May parang tracking device na hindi ka pwedeng lumayo ng bahay nyo within this, parang dun ka lang within this certain radius or else magbe-beep yung ano. Tapos
Mm.
ma-alert yung police. Parang ganon.
Okay.
few minutes in her living room. She told me of this domestic dispute she had with her ex that had turned violent, and now she was on 30 days house arrest. A very overweight teenage girl came into the room at this point, and the woman said, "Oh yeah, I'll mention I come with this. Now I just wanted to get the heck out of there." I started making excuses to leave, but she kept trying to get me to stay. Please, just one date after I am done with house arrest. The things I could learn from a man of your smarts. I said nothing besides I really have to go. Well, think about it. I just walked out the door and she followed, explaining that the bracelet had a... I was rummaging for my keys next to my car when she grabbed my left hand and slid it under her shirt, placing it directly on her bare breast. She looked up at me with a wicked grin. I got in the car without a word and just drove. I never felt so happy to drive away from a place in my life. So yeah, asking me about red flags may not be a great idea, though hopefully I have wised up since then. Asking if you have ever done H and would like to shoot up later, unless you do want to shoot up later. Same for doing lines of coke. Had dinner with a blind date. Only saw her eyes maybe for 3 minutes before she was glued to her Instagram and Snapchat, giggling to herself and replying to her followers. Tried to have a decent convo, but she was like, "Aha, that's cool, waitress comes." She doesn't even bother looking at the menu, steak, fries, and a glass of champagne. Then out of the blue, "How much money do you make?" I got done, told her the date was done and left her at the restaurant. She was so glued to her phone, she just nodded. She blows up my phone raging that I was supposed to buy her dinner and exclaimed she had no money or ride to get back to her man's place. So yeah, she was fishing for free food and drinks. We made it out perfectly. Congrats on you. Oh boy, here we go. Long story short, I went on a date with a chick and we were vibing really well before she turned ice cold and began acting like a bee. At that point I just wasn't enjoying it, so I made up some excuse about having some stuff to do and left. Few hours later she texts me she was disappointed that I gave up so easy and she was testing how much I liked her. Needless to say, I didn't ask her on a second date. I'd rather be single celibate than have a relationship sex with the entire cast of Mean Girls crammed into a single person with the maturity of a high school freshman. She asked me to drive her back home to ensure she hadn't left her iron on. 20 years later I'm still checking that she's locked doors, turned things off, locked up the pets, etc. That's a long time to stalk somebody. She brings a guy from Tinder to the date. His name is Craig. He uses a paper clip as an earring. He spends most of the day sewing. Still wasn't the worst date I've ever had. So now I want to hear about the worst date.
Oo nga.
The girl I dated was really obsessive over her ex, but not like wanting to get back.
Her
with him.
what?
No. Good sir. She just wanted to make sure.
Her what?
Obsessive over her ex, but not like wanting to get back with him.
Ang rinig ko, eggs. What? Wait, what?
He didn't date anyone, and would force everyone around her to help her, including me. I found out from her ex, a really nice guy, that on the first date we went on, she chose a specific restaurant because he had a date, and she wanted to ruin it. Yikes. Your well-meaning co-worker sets you up on a blind date with her fun friend. You agree to meet at a bar. But then her friend asks you to pick her up because she lost her license. You get to her apartment and she is arguing with a man out front. She flips him the bird before spitting in his face, then gets into your car. It is at this crucial point you notice she brought a suitcase full of her things. After you finish the drink you ordered with your meal, she finishes her fifth one. The entire time you haven't said more than a few words. Not because you're being indifferent, but because she always interrupts with anecdotes about her abusive childhood. The bill comes. She slides it over to you.
Yeah.
She
Oops.
informs you that she doesn't have any money and assumed you had intended to pay for the entire date. On the way to the car she informs you that she wants to have unprotected sex. Don't worry though. She tells you that you cannot impregnate her. She is already carrying another man's child.
Ah!
While taking her home, she begins gesturing to her suitcase while
Yeah.
asking to live with you a
Kapag,
few weeks. She is
kapag
very
ganyan, ano na,
destitute till she begins her new job as a stripper.
sasabihin kong, ay wait, CR lang ako. Pero tatakas na ako sa CR window.
Ah. Ah. Akala ko mag-CR ka talaga. Wala
Escape!
Parang wait lang, may kukunin lang ako. Tapos daling ko lang din yung bag ko. Tapos biglang hindi na bumalik.
Stripper on Monday. The man she was arguing with was letting her stay with him till she saved up enough money for her own place. Unfortunately, that man had kicked her out since she was bringing other men over to his apartment to frick. In her opinion, it was unfair. After all, she never agreed to only be sleeping with him exclusively. After pulling her hand out of your crotch and telling her you're not interested, you get to the apartment you picked her up from. Unfortunately, you live in the same apartment complex, only a couple buildings around the corner. Far enough from where you park, but not so far that she doesn't follow you all the way to your front door. She sexually assaults you while trying to force her way into the apartment. You panic, but then hear your cell phone ring. It's a telemarketer telling you about your vehicle's expiring extended warranty. You pretend it's work, push your way outside, lock the door and hope she forgets the number scrolling across it. She follows you to your car, asking when you will come back home. You leave her standing in the rear view mirror while you speed off into the night. You then spend a few hours sitting in the mall parking lot, waiting for a chance to sneak back home. While on your third cigarette to deal with the
Ang
second
haba naman ng
anxiety
kwento na
attack,
to.
even though you previously quit smoking for over 1 year, you come to a grand realization. Your co-worker is kind of a bee. Apologies for the awful experience, but congratulations on the compelling narrative. I hope you don't mind, but I couldn't find a babysitter and brought my kid. Yes, I do mind. You could have rescheduled. This is supposed to be a date, not a future daddy test. Here's some money for you and
Future
get you to
daddy.
have a nice dinner. Bye. Yes, also lying about having kids and having no when you are at her place. When she gets too personal and wants to know the street you all grew up on, your first dog's name, what your first car was,
Whoops. Wait a
Mother's
minute.
maiden
the
name.
three wacky
Yeah.
numbers on the back of your credit
Wait a minute.
Kabahan ka na.
card. Making comments to imply that she wants a worshiper gift giver instead of a partner. If you don't see a so as an equal, it's a bad sign. Pay pig. There are a few. One, she never bothers to engage in small talk during the date at all, and any attempt on your part is only met with single word answers. Another would be if she kept talking about her ex during the date. Lastly, she answers her phone saying, "Hey dad, this isn't a good time." But you quickly notice the name on the call display oddly matches the name of your own father who disappeared when you were little. Arson and incest. She will raise a big red flag if she treats strangers like crap.
True,
You can tell
this
a great
one.
deal about somebody by how they treat people who have no material
True.
Oo
Parang
nga.
kahit sa guys, isa tong malaking red flag.
Yeah.
benefits.
Actually, parang nasabi din ni March yun before.
Na,
Na you can, yun nga, you can tell by, you can tell the character of a person by how he treats yung mga, yun nga, kunyari, kahit yung
service
mga,
to.
yung mga people na may blue collar jobs, yung mga ganun.
Mm-mm. Kasi most likely, pag ano, ganun din eventually magiging trato niya sa'yo. It's
Oo.
all just a matter of time.
Yeah.
People who got
Ah,
divorced
mali.
after 20 per underrated observation. I actually have a go-to business.
Tough on stains and clean to the environment? It's possible with Breeze. Let's test these tough stains. We compare the new Breeze with brand X. Look, Breeze can remove the stain better. Try the all-new Breeze with EcoClean technology.
Business restaurant bar where I know the staff very well. They give me tons of info on how potential business associates treated them, and it is about 90% predictive of what they are truly like to deal with down the road. Automatically ordering the most expensive thing on the menu if they are not splitting the bill, not treating waitstaff with respect, not trying to maintain eye contact, while not being socially
Ba't ako hirap ako mag-eye contact? Red flag agad yun.
awkward.
Context
This one is
dependent.
context dependent. Constant use of their phone, grossly bashing their ex, or talking at length about them. Not the normal "oh, my ex was a dog," but really going on about it. Being generally inconsiderate or arrogant. Diverting conversation to talk overly about themselves, even on topics not about them. Not showing any interest in me as a person. My ex and I used to split all our bills and we went on twice as many dates. When every time you bring a girl out is a financial burden, you start to resent spending time with someone. If she starts
Ikaw ba?
playing on her phone,
Sa mga nakadate mo na. Wow. May ganun. Ano, you split the bill or you
Pero
let
minsan
the person who invited pay?
Siyempre, automatic. Pero parang minsan, magsasabi naman sila agad. Sila yung manlilibre. Tapos parang pag mag-offer din naman ako manlibre. Pero kung tumanggi, edi okay. Pero yun, syempre, nakakahiya din kung lagi kang nililibre.
True.
Parang ambag-ambag din naman, te. Ganun.
means I. A. She's just there for a free meal. B. She's already dating someone. C. She's not interested in you. D. All of the above.
Or nagda-dial na ng 911. Call for
Apart from all the
Kasi yung bintana yung CR walang bintana para maka-exit.
Hindi, kung ganun, magkakos ako ng commotion sa place. para lang makatakas.
Ones I really know it's not going to work if they start complaining about having to walk a short way when together. I get it if they're wearing heels, but if we plan to go to a restaurant, walk around a bit and see a movie and 200 meters into the walking they start complaining, then it's just not going to work out. I dated a girl once who would get mad if I wouldn't circle around or wait until one of the closest spots were open. Her dad would do it all the time. I happen to be one of those people who park as far away as possible so my car doesn't get dinged by careless kids. It didn't work well.
Masaya kaya ng lakad-lakad lang ganun.
Oo. Ako siguro, parang kapag, since taga-UP, so parang
Oo.
sanay ka ng maglakad-lakad ng
Oo.
Kaya parang can relate sa mga ganyang factors na ay maglakad.
Saka sa Pilipinas, parang kumbaga kung traffic everywhere, mapapalakad ka na lang, di ba? Kaysa naman magbayad ka pa ng pagkamahal-mahal to get from point A to point B.
Oo. Exercise pa.
True.
Telling you right at the beginning of a date how much he hates Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, that was awkward. Talking about how they want a man who knows how to treat a lady, or checking out other guys with their eyes while still actually talking to you, or ridiculing things you said, or telling you their ex-boyfriend is a policeman and if anyone hurts me he will get them, or telling you they have a BF but he's going to
Ginawang
be in jail
panakot eh.
for 6 months, or ordering as much expensive stuff as they can, obviously more than they can eat, because they think a date is a chance to burn a guy for as much as they can get, or telling you about how their ex was in butthole, in fact all their exes were buttholes, or lying about their sprints or age before a blind date, or some of the first questions they ask you are how much do you earn, what car do you drive, where do you live, do you own or rent, or telling you their last BF was so generous he even bought you a house and gave it to you. 9 Korean
Sugar daddy yata yung hanap nito. Ay, naka.
girl in China, receiving more than a dozen calls on her phone, mostly that sounded male, while still in the car on the way to the restaurant. Chinese girl, I'd already decided not to date her again before we reached the restaurant. These are all things I have personally experienced dating. Yikes. Came to this thread afraid I'd see something I'm inadvertently doing as a red flag because I can be a little socially awkward. Leaving this thread feeling more normal than ever. Holy crap guys, I'm sorry you're meeting these women. All I see here is a green flag. Trying to make sure you aren't a bad person or trying to improve yourself. There are some good ones here, like mistreating servers, making it clear she sees you as a source of money and expensive gifts, or carrying on about an ex. I don't want to just repeat what everyone else is saying. So my red flag is anyone who seems to be constantly on or have something they're trying to prove. If they can't just relax and stop trying to show what an edgelord victim not like other girls or whatever sort of character they're trying to convince you they are, being around them is going to drain you every time. It's not even worth the pee to me. I like genuine, real people who aren't constantly putting on some show. I want a man who treats me like a queen. Usually code for I want someone to live and die for my happiness so I can be selfish forever. No thanks.
Akala ko
When you're
totoo.
dating a girl for a few months
Na?
who has a small
Akala ko totoo yun talaga yung
Na,
yung I want to be treated like a queen. Parang
tapos ano eh.
parang ako as a person, syempre I do that. Ganun. Pero parang
Oo.
yung sabihan ka ng ganun, parang
Oo.
uh, although gagawin mo naman, pero
Oo.
ewan ko, parang
Parang mas okay na hindi pinarinig, ganun. Or
oo.
parang kasi ang dating pinuwersa, ganun.
Or oo. Parang siguro hindi comfortable for me yung nag-expect may certain expectations na siya
Oo.
na ganun kataas
Oo.
going into a relationship. Ganun.
Oo. Tapos pag-usapan nga ng friend ko na parang hindi talaga mind readers ang men. Although, parang okay lang.
Tama yun. There's, ano yan? That's correct.
You have to be specific kung gusto mo ba talagang mag-work siya. Pero I think okay lang naman din siya for me. Parang mas okay na rin yun kaysa pa magkagulo-gulo na kung ano-ano pang conclusion ng marating. Hindi naman doon papunta dapat. Although minsan kasi, nakakatuwa naman na parang pag minsan di mo na kailangan sabihan nasa kanila. Pero parang extra na lang din yun.
Well, in time naman, makukuha naman nila yung quirks nyo. Like ako, parang kuha ko na yung quirks ni Marge na dati before kailangan pa niyang sabihin or or whatever, parang ganon. Yun, hindi na.
Anong hindi na? Hindi na. Parang alam mo na.
Oo, ganon. Kung minsan, hindi pa niya sinasabi, parang, gets. Ganon. Or, alam ko na gusto nito. Ganon.
Although may point din naman yung parang mga workmates ko na parang iba yung feeling na hindi mo, kumbaga, you didn't have to specify or magsabi pa.
Specify stuff. Ganon.
Oo.
Yeah. Oo.
Paminsan-minsan, okay din naman na may, kumbaga sa
I mean,
kanila.
good for you if you found someone na, that could read you so easily. Ganon. Ganon nga ba?
Anong ganun nga ba?
Ganon nga ba?
Alin?
Currently.
Be specific.
Name droppings ba?
Name dropping. Baka hindi pa
Ay,
rin.
gago. Binunggo tuloy ako nitong mga... Binunggo tuloy ako, pumasok ako sa kabilang kalye. Shit. Ano? Name dropping?
Saka na.
Ayun, pero kung if you know what I mean, Equim. Ay, tapos na pala yun. Equim. If you know what I mean.
If you know what... okay. Kung...
Nalimutan na tuloy yung tanong ko. Ano ito?
Kaya nga.
Nabunggo pa ako bad trip. Ano ba yung tanong ko?
Kung may kusa ba or kailangan?
Ayun. Yung kung kumusta ang kanyang
naman bang
mind reading powers
ang
to you.
foggy kong utak.
Oo. Yes.
Fairness naman.
Yes.
Kilig girl.
Kilig yarns.
Oo.
Yes.
Bakit? Buti na lang. Ano pa ba yun?
Tsaka makikita mo naman na mag-e-effort yung person sa'yo kung kahit they don't read you easily, they'll make an effort.
Pero sana lang hindi lang sa umpisa. Pero feeling ko naman.
Yun lang. Yun lang. It's something you have to it's the long play. Pero what can you share?
What can you share?
Mukha bang for the long haul yan?
Mukha naman, feeling ko naman, sana. Tapos biglang hindi na ako nausap the next day.
Uyu? Ganun.
Uyu? Ha? Feeling ko naman.
So yung kilig mo, from 1 to 10,
May ganon.
may ganon. Anong level?
Anong rating?
Oo. So far, binubunggo talaga ako dito na part na to.
Siguro 8?
Yes.
Taas.
With a chance of meatballs. Taas, taas.
Yeah. In fairness naman din kasi. Ano, may tanong ka pa?
Hindi kape yung nagsasalita dyan.
Ngayon?
Hindi kape.
Inaantok na nga ako eh. Oy, pero in fairness nagawa akong labanan ng antok ko para lang sa kanya.
Oh, yes.
Alam mo kung gaano ako antukin.
Oo.
Tinutulugan ko ay awang naglalaro ng D&D.
Ano pang mga tanong?
Ano, hot seat?
Ganun talaga. Sayang
Ano
kung
pa?
may viewers tayo ngayon. Magpapaano ako eh.
Tanong?
Si Vyron ba? Vyron?
Wala.
Paparamdam ka.
Wala.
Vyron? Baka may gusto kang itanong. Now's your chance.
Yung mga points nyo, gamitin nyo
Uy,
na.
nag-comment siya sa akin. Name drop daw.
Nanonood siya ngayon.
Name drop daw.
Yes, wala muna, Byron. 10 subs muna. With the name drop.
Joke lang.
Hindi nga.
Wala.
Stream snipe na kita. Yeah. Wala, gagi. Ano pa?
Ano pa? Teka lang. Teka.
Ano ba yan?
Ano ba yung mga... Oo nga eh, di ako prepared eh. Kala ko nga ikaw yung magtatanong ngayon eh.
Ano magtatanong?
Ewan ko, di ba may tanong ka kanina?
Anong tanong ko?
Sa Facebook.
Anong tanong ko sa Facebook?
Teka lang na I'm in the middle of a race.
Sige.
Eto. Sure ka ba na walang ano yan, parang ikaw lang yung dinada moves yan ngayon?
Feeling ko naman.
Hindi naman siya ba yung yung strange and mysterious type? Sino siya sa dalawang
Saan?
dun sa dalawang types of men? Strange and mysterious or
or nice
or yung
guy.
isa, or nice guy.
Ang feeling ko naman, legit, hindi yung incel na nice guy yung more of legit na
nice guy.
Na, paano ba? Well, hindi naman siguro kasi siya mysterious na parang, lang siguro siya talaga, natural na introvert. Pero pag tinanong mo naman ng mga katanungan, feeling ko naman maayos naman siyang sumasagot. Parang ganun.
Eto.
Ano?
Di ba may di ba meron, di ba lahat naman ng person may ano ba yun, yung parang ba't elements yung iniisip kong word? Parang kumbaga may checklist sa perfect guy nila, parang ganon. So si person na yan, Kung may
Parang muntik ka
checklist
ng
ka.
mga parang muntik ka ng madulas,
Hindi, ako pa. Malupit to.
Yes. Yes.
Dito nadudulas. Marunong to mag-drift. Akala mo lang madudulas pero it's all part of the show. Ilang si Guy, ilan ang na-cross off sa checklist mo, sa perfect guy checklist mo?
Ilan ang
Yeah.
na-check?
May sense ba?
Aha.
If you had a checklist for your perfect guy, ilan ang na-check niya? What? hindi ko hindi ko pero gets mo ba? May sense ba yung ayun?
Parang napakita ba niya yung certain qualities?
Yung certain qualities that you are looking for in a guy. Ganun. Tapos kung napakita niya, ilan na dun sa mga hinahanap mo yung nakita mo sa kanya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yung nakita mo sa kanya. Ganun.
Ano ba? Wala naman akong listahan. Parang siya, it's a matter of so far ba pasado or so far hindi. Ganun.
Aha.
Pero so far pasado naman.
Yes.
So parang
Okay.
ha?
Okay. Ano yan?
Wala. Hindi ko na matandaan. Ano ba? So far pasado naman.
So ano yung best quality na nakita mo sa kanya so far? Na-surprise ka na, ay, ganito pala siya. Yun, ganun na lang. Para mas boy abunda.
Mas boy abunda. Ano ba? I guess siguro what also sets him apart sa iba na encounter ko na before.
Na nanligaw sa'yo, ganun.
Oo.
Aha.
Na matino siyang kausap. Parang hindi, kumbaga mas, madali siyang i-approach if may kailangan kayong pag-usapan, ganun. Unlike iba na parang masyadong high yung wall, na parang, do I approach this person? And ganun. Na parang pwede ba akong maging open sa kanya? Parang ganun. And be vulnerable. Parang ganun. May iba kasi na parang super high yung wall na parang, ba yun? Bato.
Okay, gets.
Saka parang expressive naman din siya pag kinikilig siya.
Dapat lang.
Dapat lang.
Dapat
diba?
lang. Sige, mag-isip pa ako ng mga tanong. Na-hotspot ako. Wala akong ready na mga life tumbling questions.
Advice na lang. Advice.
Advice? Anong advice? Anong klaseng advice Anong klaseng advice?
Ewan ko sa'yo.
Advice ko? Ganon? Kanino?
Sa kanya na lang siguro. Pero
Kay
wala, eh.
adult man.
Anong adult man?
Hi,
Parang
I'm
adult.
adult man.
Ano yun?
Hindi. Nalala ko kasi yung sa OB1
Oo, ano yun ba yun? Hindi ko pa
na
napapanood yun, eh.
hindi wala ka pang napapanood na ano.
Wala pa.
Napanood mo ba yung BoJack
Oo.
Horseman?
Oo.
Kilala mo si adult man?
Hindi.
Yung naging jowa ni ano ni sino yung manager ni BoJack na
Ah!
cat?
Si Princess Caroline
Oo,
na yung
yung bata na naka-trench coat.
oo, oo, oo,
Oo.
oo.
May scene, may scene kasi sa Obi-Wan sobrang dumb. Parang ganon. Hey,
Ah.
I'm adult man. Anyway,
Oo.
so yun. So, anong advice?
Mm.
Siguro when it comes to dating, ayun. Siguro this can be a good advice din sa'yo. Parang ganun. Parang, w- parang overrated na yung
Mind games?
hindi hindi aside from that yung typical date na dinner, movie, ganun. Parang don't do that. Do something fun na yung kayong dalawa yung mag-e-enjoy ganun or parang it's a good way din to learn more kung ano yung yung fun sa'yo, sa kanya, ganun. Alam mo yun, kumbaga more of kasi parang that way mas makaka-bond kayo eh. Tsaka okay yung road trip. Road trip kayong dalawa yung
Tapos
yan.
ano, biglang naging yung mga
Ha?
horror movies na ano, nag-cut. Yung mga typical horror movies
Oo, yung
na
mga movie trope na
road
ano,
trip. Yung
masisiraan
nasiraan
kayo sa daan.
sa daan. Tapos ano, biglang may serial killer.
Oo. Pero yun, parang ganun. Pero, tsaka most likely naman, parang halos pareho lang naman kayo ng ano, di ba? Ng mga likes and ano,
Yeah.
hobbies.
Yeah. Saka I
Ganun.
think okay din na parang medyo magkaugali rin kami kaya parang medyo magagamay mo rin. Magagamay mo rin siya.
True. Oo. Hindi din kayo ano no, hindi din kayo in the same field. Ano ba work niya?
Secret, baka magka-booking nga. Charot.
Hindi, malay ko ba?
Wait lang. I will
You
PM
will
you.
ask. Sige,
Ha?
sige.
In
Kala ko papaalam ka
Instagram.
muna. Wow, sa IG talaga. Ba't sa
Yeah.
IG?
Kasi pag sa Facebook,
Sa PC ka magka-open.
oo, di ba? Tapos in fairness, saktong ano, na related sa work niya,
Oh,
na basta parang how to, basta parang technique para mapataas yung raise mo, ganun. May tinuro siyang ganun.
raise meaning salary.
Raise, as in salary.
Kala ko raise like orc or
Raise,
whatever.
Forza.
Oo. Send mo na ba? Teka, tapusin ko lang tong isang race na to. Pero same age range naman kayong dalawa, no? Hindi naman parang 10
1
years
year.
yung agwat.
Hindi naman. 1 year older lang naman siya.
Okay. That's good.
Saka in fairness naman, kasi nga 'di ba, magka-share kami ng booth ng friend ko. In
Mm.
fairness naman, boto rin naman yung friend ko.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Kahit nung nung day 2,
Mm.
napag-usapan nga namin siya.
Oh,
Kasi nga, sabi nung friend ko na mukhang okay si Guy, saka mukhang talagang mabait naman siya.
mm.
Yun. That's a good sign. Parang kumbaga two out of many friends. So far,
Pinakilala mo
out
na
of
ba kila ano?
Hindi pa, pero
Akala ko ba nag-meet kayo ni Grace?
ni Grace saka ni Mims. Oo, pero hindi ko kasi alam paano pero nag-wavean lang sila nung dumaan silang dalawa sa booth ko.
Pero nakita nila.
Mm.
Oh, alam na nila yun.
Mm.
Dapat pinakilala mo na ba doon?
Ha?
Dapat pinakilala mo na. Ay, ito na pala yung ano ko. Yeah.
Yes. Pero ewan ko, parang ano ba? Parang ano ba? Hindi ko alam bakit nung pag sa kanilang tatlo, parang kinakabahan ako.
Bakit? Feel mo i-judge nila ng todo?
Hindi naman. Kumbaga,
Kilala ba nila?
ano ba?
Common friend or parang hindi?
I think si Grace hindi familiar sa kanya.
Oo.
Si Mira, oo. Si Mims, oo. Pero, since matagal nga rin namin siyang hindi nakita, hindi, by face, hindi. Pero by name, oo.
Okay. So, meron na silang, kumbaga, they know
Idea?
about the person na, ganon. Kung
Konti.
who that person
Konti.
is, blah, blah, blah,
Wala
whatever,
pa akong
whatever.
masyadong nakakwento sa kanila, actually.
Hindi, no. Not the both of you. Parang just him alone. Ganon. Kumbaga parang kilala na nila siya to some degree. Ganon.
Siguro, sino ba? Siguro, Mims, not sure. Si Grace mukhang wala at all. Yun. Ano pa?
Sige lang, tuloy mo lang yan. Makaka-pick up ako ng...
Appetite, but over time you realize her stomach is increasing in size. Finally, you make a joke and she breaks down crying, saying she was raped and really needs you. So, nice and understanding, you stay with her because you feel you can raise a child and willing enough to do anything it takes. Until you bring it up to a mutual friend and he refuses to look at you. You begin pestering him about it until he spills the beans and reveals she cheated on you in the beginning of the relationship because she thought you guys wouldn't last long and she is going to use the baby as leverage to keep both of you together and use you for life. You get to her house, tell her everything you know, and all she can say is, "Who told you?" In the end, you leave her and all of her friends
Whom told you?
questioning your entire existence.
Huh? Who told you? Who did
kasi.
tell you?
The next year you meet a wonderful girl by chance and have now been going strong for 2 years. That's a really long first date. In all seriousness though, that's a terrible ordeal and it sounds like it's really affected you. Counseling therapy might not be a bad idea if there's lingering bitterness. I was expecting subtle hints coming here, but instead I feel fortunate I've apparently managed to avoid absolute train wrecks. A few weeks into dating my first real girlfriend, things started to turn weird. She started telling me that she was hanging out at an old friend's place but one of his buddies was hitting on her hardcore. I told her to just walk away but she kept making up excuses that they were all in a room together and she couldn't leave. I told her to tell him she had a boyfriend who wants him to back off and she told me he started threatening me. She kept asking me what I wanted to say to him but I just sort of brushed it all off because this was a conversation through a third party with someone I had never met before. Situations like this kept popping up. She would tell me she was around some guy who was being aggressive towards her, trying to get me to react. I kept trying to act tough to these random people, 15 years old, but really I was just confused. After about a month of dating, she tells me that best friend's boyfriend texted her and said that he loves her and that they should run away together. We all went to the same high school so I don't really know where they plan to run to. She was relaying all of this to me and I started to question it. He was such a nice guy, why would he want to break off his relationship? Why is this conversation even continuing? Why is he persisting? Have you told him you're not interested? Shouldn't you be able to easily shut this down? She gets frustrated that I'm not playing into her hand so she calls me and decides to escalate it to, well, I'm kind of considering it. That was obviously the breaking point and a very easy response, really? Well then we should break up. She flips her opinion really quickly. I didn't mean it. I was crazy. I'm sorry. I don't even like him. I'm proud of 15-year-old me for sticking up for myself and completely cutting contact. It turns out, which is pretty obvious in hindsight, that she just loved guys getting jealous over her and was lying the entire time to get me going. In every relationship I've had since, I've kept an eye out for the every guy I talk to is into me red flag. You are a champ. I had similar experience at 17. Unfortunately I was far more naive then. Bringing up crazy things she did to guys in past relationships. It doesn't make me think you're savage or cool. It makes me think that's going to happen to you.
True. Parang
Ano?
ano na siya, warning sign na.
Yung kapag nagbe-bring up ng
Naive then.
Oo.
mga
ng mga
past
Bringing up crazy
relationship.
things she
Yeah.
did to guys in past relationships. It doesn't
Yung mga crazy stuff na ginawa
Oo.
niya. It's most likely going to happen then for you,
make
to
me
you.
think
True.
you're savage or cool. It makes me think that's going to happen to me. I opened the restaurant door for her, and she told me I don't need a freaking man to open my door. I walked her to the table. I gave her $20 for a cab ride home and walked out. I would have just bailed. Frick the cab money. You're a better man than me.
In fairness, well, for someone na a strong, independent woman, ang saya kaya sa feeling na minsan may ganun na mag-open ang door for you or would be a gentleman. Bakit may kailangan pang pag-nuk-nukan ng ganun?
Bakit nga?
Parang ako,
Ewan ko, kasi ako, I do that kasi,
hello, Byron. Salamat sa subscription ulit.
ayan na, Byron,
Ayan
ano na,
Byron.
magtanong ka na ng spiciest questions mo
Eh,
for for kasi kung if you've been listening kanina, may
feeling-
may mga
sayang. Late
may
ka
mga
na.
kilig questions na nangyayari dito na sinasagot ni
Naka Tito Boy mode si JB ngayon.
based sa mga sa mga pangyayari sa buhay. Mga pangyayari, madami.
Mga
Oh, mga pangyayari sa buhay, hindi mga people. One person lang.
mm, one person aka me,
Kakadating
charot.
ko lang. Pwede mong i-rewind naman tomorrow for your listening pleasure.
Okey lang
Ganun.
'yan, Byron. Wala ka
Oo.
namang na-miss out na
Hindi, madami. Kaya,
dami.
ulitin mo na lang ulit tong stream na to.
Ulitin.
Oo. Worth it siya, promise. Especially kung nangailangan ka ng vitamin C.
Vitamin C,
Katulad ko.
vitamin tsismis.
Yun yun,
Tawag dun,
tanungin mo si Grace. Alam ni Grace
ano,
yun eh. Uy,
alin?
sabihin niya sa akin, uy, bibigyan kita vitamin C. Sige.
Vitamin C.
Oo.
Vitamin tsismis. Kaya dapat 'pag ano, eh,
Kaya
anong tawag
favorite ko
dun?
yung vitamin C eh. Kailangan ko at least once a day. Tsaka di
Ah.
ako na-overdose.
Parang masaya ka pa 'pag na-overdose ka
Oh,
din, eh.
gaya nung isang kilala ko parang na-overdose ata sa vitamin E. Kaso lang ibang vitamin yun eh.
Ah, si ano, parang
Sino?
feeling
Sino?
ha?
Si?
Eh,
Si name drop?
basta no.
Hashtag
Ang
All-Star
tanong,
7.
anong hashtag All-Stars
Yung pinapanood ni Marge na
ni
Rupo.
Marge? Gising pa si Marge?
Hindi na. Tulog na kanina.
Tawag
Naririnig
dun.
ko
Pero
yan.
feeling ko naman, ano siya, na, ang tawag dun, na supplyan naman siya ng vitamin E.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kanina siya kumukuha ng vitamin E.
Sa ano?
Saan? Sa market?
Sa market.
Uy, may,
Oy,
ba't ganun tawa mo?
oy.
Uy, lo.
Oh,
Teka lang si Byron, di makarelate.
oo.
Mamaya, magbaback, yan. Ayun, ayun na, nagparamdam na din sa YouTube.
Sa YouTube.
Oh,
Mamaya nag-miss eh.
Kung
Mga
gusto mo
streams
manood ng may driving habang nakikinig ng
Oo.
podcast, eto panoorin mo. Pero kung audio lang, dun ka sa Twitch.
Oo.
Dito
Oo.
may
Pero same lang din naman ang marinig mo.
Oo. Dito
Na
parang feel mo
kakaiba.
nagda-drive ka tapos nakikinig ka ng podcast radio. Ganun.
Oo. Ano yan? Hindi. Kaka-chismis adventures yan.
Oo. O game, ano na? Ay, ano ba yung
Ano?
tanong to? Ay, hindi pala tanong
Ano
yan.
Ano nga ba?
Saan siya nakakuha ng vitamin E?
Ano? Ah. Moving on.
Biglang uminit
Biglang, parang gusto ko nang i-end yung, yung stream. Madali pa tayo.
Ayan. Kaya
Ayan.
Byron, ulitin. Kapag as soon as the stream ends, ulitin mo
Oo.
from the start.
Pero,
Seryoso.
naman, wala namang name drop. So, hindi naman siya ganun tawag doon, ka-juicy.
Pero may clues ba? May clues ba tayong
Parang wala.
parang wala. Byron,
Oo.
ka lang, PM ka lang dito sa YouTube
PM.
kung gusto mo ng clues.
Ang cool.
Pwede ako
Oy.
mag quote unquote end stream.
PM is key.
PM is key. Kung mahilig ka sa vitamin C, you're in the right place. You're with the right person.
Kay Tito Boy.
Oo.
Kay Kaka-Chismis Adventure.
Bumababa na yung frame rate ko dito sa Forza.
Ayan,
Lipat ako sa Heroes.
Horizon, Heroes.
My go-to game.
Ano ba
So
yun?
please,
Ito.
Byron, kapag may tanong ka,
When they
go
ask
lang.
you to pay for something for
Oo.
Ito. Hingan mo ng dating tips si Byron.
Oo nga. Oo
Byron,
nga.
kung kung meron kang
Maipapayo.
na dating tips for both both
Mag-ingat ka.
individual.
Mag-ingat ka. Baka may masabi kang
Itago natin sa pangalang vitamin E.
Ano?
Tsaka vitamin.
Ano?
Hindi, yun na lang. Kung may ma-advise, kung may anong best dating advice pwede mong ibigay sa common friends
Kinauukulan.
natin.
Oo. Kinauukulan.
Ayan. Kinauukulan. Ano ba meaning nun?
Ano yun? Sabi ni Byron, nako baka outdated na ako.
Teka lang,
9 years na
open
ako.
ko din yung stream mo.
9 years na ako when I was out there. Even then, I was bad. Pero ang
Hindi,
ending,
okay lang
kahit
yan.
na bad,
Oo,
pero
tingnan mo naman yung
nevertheless, kinasal ka naman.
happy ending. Happy ending ka naman eh.
Happy ending.
Anong masabi mo dyan? Hindi ba happy yan? Happy yan. Happy yarn.
Happy yarn. Happy yarn.
Hindi, ganito na lang. Tanungin na lang natin si Byron. Ano yung the moves niya para sa kanyang SO?
Yeah.
Natututo na ng mga acronym ng mga youths.
Yeah.
Yun. Sabay nag-quit up.
Oo.
Nang siya yung tinanong.
Parang ano ba yan?
Ba't ako yung biglang na-hot seat?
Kaya nga.
Akala ko
lang naman
ako yung may matututunang ano.
Ano yan? Ako dati I hide flowers sa likod ng car. Then I asked her to open it for me. Pero during Montsary. Yes. Pero alam naman niya na sa'yo galing yun.
The wait is over.
Saan yun? Parang ano ba? Hidden secret lover? Ano ba tawag
Pero hindi
sa
sila na nun eh. Kasi during Montsary.
During Montsary.
Yup, after date namin bago Grabe yung maghiwalay. Ang inisip ko maghiwalay as in yung break talaga.
At the end of the day, break sila.
Part days, oo.
Ganun kalupit si Byron.
Oo.
Hiwalay sa gabi. Tapos, ligawan ulit in the morning. Tapos hapon sila ulit.
Oo, ganun. I-break para maligawan ulit, ganun. Kunwari, may papakuha ako sa back ng car. Inutusan pa?
Wag
Pwede
wag
naman iabot, charot.
wag
Charot,
kang
joke lang.
walang
Ano?
walang siraan ng trip.
Oo nga. Tignan mo naman, kinasal yan.
Oo, panis.
Kakautos magbukas ng likod
Mm.
ng car. Yung sa'yo ba nun, Japes, ano yung signature moves mo kay Marge?
Ako, ano, nung nanliligaw stage, gano'n. Well, hanggang ngayon pa naman ginagawa it. Parang
Yes.
isa sa mga pinaka-favorite kong gawin. Hatid sundo. Gano'n. Mm. From
Ano
from college na parang abangan ko siya sa class, hatid sa next class. Tapos um ganun. Tapos ngayon, hatid sa hospital,
Clinic.
sa clinic, sundo sa blah blah blah. Sabi ko nga, gusto mo mag-resign na lang ako. Full-time na ako,
Full-time driver na
driver.
lang.
Oo. Di ka pa malilate.
Kaya nga. Tapos
Okay.
papatugtog ka na Crush by Mandy Moore.
Ew. Hindi, joke lang. Joke lang. Alam mo ba, Vyron, may significance na yung kantang yun kasi kay E.
Oy, ano?
Kung ako magpapatugtog, dashboard, mga ganun.
Dashboard confession.
Oo.
Oy, pero wag ka. Love ko kaya si Mandy Moore nung bata ko. Yung Walk to
Tama.
Remember Day.
Walang siraan ng trip. Ako, love ko si dashboard.
Akala ko ba Ava Max?
Hindi ko pa kilala si Ava Max nun eh. Ngayon, Ava Max na piniplay namin.
Ay ko.
Oo. Dati, dashboard. Ganun. Meron pa nun, nung tumutugtog pa ako ng violin. Parang kapag napapag-usapan namin ngayon, parang it sounds so dumb. Tapos parang paano ko ginagawa yun? Parang sobrang hirap. Kasi, di ba, phone pa nun eh, tumatawag pa ako sa kanila, ganun, whatever.
Landline.
So, landline. So, nakaipit yung violin sa sa right shoulder and neck ko. Tapos yung phone nakaipit sa kabilang side.
Shit, paano? Nakaganon ka, wala kang leg.
Tapos, nakakatugtog pa ako nun na. Tapos parang nung one time, nung naalala ko yun, parang tawa na lang kami ng tawa. Paano kung ginagawa yun? Napakalupit naman.
Buti may leg ka pang
Oo nga.
Ay, nato.
So, yun.
For we still have need of you. You show promise.
Okay, tuloy natin.
For them, or suggest that you do it for the next time. Went out with a girl for a really bad date. There was almost zero chemistry between us. Things got slightly better as the date progressed, but I still wouldn't even say it was in my top 100 dates, and I don't think I've ever had that many. I offered to drop her off on our way out and she agrees. On the way to her place, we saw an ad for The Incredibles 2, and to strike up a conversation I asked her if she liked those films. She said she did, and then said that we should go see it next time we go out. Then she added, "But you'll pay for my ticket." Right, I laughed and didn't say anything because I assumed she was joking, and she said with a serious tone, "Don't be cheap. You got a nice car. It's clear you make good money. You can afford to pay for my ticket." She was out of my sights the second she said that. I just laughed again and said, "Sure, we can do that." I dropped her off and never contacted.
Ba't nawala? Nag-ads pala.
Nag-add na naman. Paano ba mawala yung ad sa Facebook?
Wala eh. Si Ton dati meron siyang pina-install na
Ad blocker.
extension sa Chrome o na parang ad blocker.
Hmm.
Pero Chrome yun eh. Hindi ko alam
Chrome naman gamit ko eh.
kung applicable siya sa Facebook. I mean, kung
Ah.
Facebook lang ganun. Pero
Okay.
para sa YouTube ata yung ganun before.
For my husband, tell them to read this in the most redneck, hick voice possible. When a girl who looks like someone just pee in her oatmeal keeps calling Angry Orchard Green Orchid, gets mad at the bartender by saying I done got one of these last week. It was a green orchid and then turns to you and says wanna fist me later. I also like anal. Personally, I disagree
What?
with my husband and believe this is a magnetic and appropriate way to exert one's dominance. And now he's telling me about her claim to be from a parallel universe that her pastor explained to her. But never mind. Shut it down. I went on a date with a girl who ordered a steak and a cheesecake and then proceeded to eat them at the same time. Like in the same bite. Look, I get weird food combinations. But if you're going to make that combination on the first date, there's a strong chance you have some bodies under your floorboards. That almost sounds good. Might have to try that.
In fairness, parang okay siya.
Na.
The steak or beef, parang ganun.
Mm.
Parang yun yung na-imagine kong lasa niya. Kaya, or combo, parang ganun.
Okay naman.
Not a first
Ha?
Okay naman. Yeah.
date, but my ex broke up with me because I wasn't putting enough into the relationship. I didn't buy her a 4-month anniversary present, then begged to get back together with me, and continued to complain that I didn't buy her things. Excuse me, lady, but I just found out my cat is ill, and need to pay for her meds. Presents can wait.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that relationship is over.
Parang, ako yun. Parang, go save the cat.
March forward.
I remember a very long time ago when I was like 19 I'm 44 now. I met this chick who was working at a store, Thrifties, that I was transferred to for a week to help them out from a neighboring city. I was working for the same store. We hit it off while we were working that night and long story short went out after work to a restaurant, Coco's. While we were eating, some dude walks up to our table and starts to ask her why she didn't pick up their kid since it was her turn to watch him. They start yelling at each other right there at the restaurant. Then the guy leaves, grabs their kid from his car. I'm assuming it was his car. I actually don't know. And plops him next to her in the booth while we were eating and left. I was polite and finished the meal and then said I had to go home. It was so awkward. The next day I had to go into work at that same store, but she wasn't working that day so I didn't see her. I ended up working one more day after that and still didn't see her, so I went back to my store after that and didn't contact her. 1 week goes by and she ends up calling me at work, since cell phones were not a thing back then, and begs me to have breakfast with her so she can explain things. I have no idea why, but I ended up saying yes and met her following Saturday in her city at some breakfast place. I show up at the restaurant and she is sitting there with her mother and grandmother. The girl then begins to apologize to me for what happened. She's crying and begging me for a second chance, while at the same time her mother and grandmother were begging me to give her a second chance to BTW. I have never met before and I literally just met her. I can't remember
Ang
the
daming
exact
nangyayari.
details of what
Hindi ko na ma-follow yung kwento.
Masyadong complicated yung story.
Oo.
happened at the end
Parang di na kaya siyang ma-process ng Pentium 2 brain ko.
of that breakfast, but I never saw her again. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. Still to this day I always wonder how that dude knew we were at the restaurant since no one had cell phones back then. She asked me to take her shopping on our second date. I have my dad drop us off. Didn't have my license at the time. Age 15. So
You're being
anyways,
15.
she takes me to Victoria's Secret to shop for clothes and stuff. About an hour later and a half later she thinks she has enough things and asks me to help take her things to go check out at the counter. I grab the rest of her things and take them over to the counter to pay. That's when she just kinda stands there and acts like I'm gonna pay. I said something like, "How this is gonna be expensive. Where do you work?" And she says something like, "What do you mean? I thought you were helping me out with this." I kinda just asked if she was joking, and when she confirmed multiple times that she wasn't, she claimed it's not okay to make the lady in a relationship happy or some balls. First of all, we went on one date-ish, movies, and now today, this is not a relationship. Second of all, I'm 15. I don't
15 lang
have
siya.
$150 to waste on clothes for someone I've spent all of maybe 6 hours of my life on. I keep refusing to pay, mostly saying that I don't have the money to pay in the first place, even if I wanted to. She calls her dad and has him pick her up instead of waiting for mine. Praying my date next weekend doesn't go the next way. I've only dated 2 people before and she was the first. I don't think this girl is the same way as the last at all though, so I think we'll work out. Once started dating this gal who shared everything with me, from her dog that she had to take care of for the last year and a half because he was dying, to the sexual trauma that she had been through, to her birth control that was suffering side effects from, to how much it's going to cost to fix her car. Nothing positive was being shared, and all the bad stuff she was kinda brushing over like it still wasn't the worst she'd been through. I had to ghost her because I'm a bleeding heart and even I couldn't help but want to try to fix her problems. But I had enough problems of my own to deal with that. Is married, gets drunk
Hindi ko na
before telling you
masundan.
during the dinner.
Ako rin eh. Parang, is it my brain or is it how the stories go?
Parang,
The date orders a second
ewan ko, parang ang daming details.
Nangyayari, oo, na
Oo.
unnecessary na
Parang,
included pa rin.
dinner to go. I told her she is paying for the meal. Went on a date with a girl I met on OkCupid. I picked her up since she didn't have a car. It was 40 minutes to get to her place. She wasn't anything that she looked like in her pictures and she is very much not my type, but I figured, you know what, I'll give her a chance. Who knows? She suggests that we go to Dennis because it had the best breakfast. Definitely doesn't BTW.
May Dennis pa ba sa Teams? Parang wala na, di ba?
anong Dennis?
Kahit yung parang breakfast place na kahit yung isa eh, may isa pa na parang sikat na
Saan yan?
IHOP.
IHOP meron pa.
IHOP meron pa.
Oo.
Dennis, alam ko sumunod yung Dennis kasi naging medyo hit yung IHOP. Pero parang
Hindi ako familiar sa
meron,
Dennis.
ayun, meron daw Eastwood, sabi niya.
Ah.
Parang siyang bar-ish na breakfast game. Parang ganun, American breakfast.
Dennis. Ay,
We sit down
something
and try
fishy
and
pala
have
yung alam ko sa
conversation.
Eastwood.
Yung sarado na din yun eh.
Oo.
Nag-work
Sarap
pa ako
din dun.
sa Gymboree. Nagsara yung, sa Kamura yung nila.
Yung Eat All You Can.
Oo.
Tsaka kahit
Pero
parang
never namin na-try.
super early morning. Parang ganun.
Mm-mm.
But here are the topics she wants to talk about. Damn, our server is so hot.
Breakfast buffet.
Yes.
Naabutan. Di ba yung KFC nag-breakfast buffet dati?
Huh?
Pero hindi nila na-sustain.
Oh, really?
Oo, parang I remember meron siya before. Pero ewan ko kung limited time ba siya or what.
Hindi ako aware sa KFC na buffet.
Select a talent.
I love girls with big asses. X2 this happened. I went on a date with a submissive guy before you and he was so cute. But like worrying to me and I just didn't feel the same. You know? Isn't it weird how many black people are here? She was black. I'm white. Well, check comes on a single piece of paper and she asks how much is it, so I show her the receipt and she proceeds to go into her purse to get money out. Now look, My view is if I ask you to the date, I'll pay. If you want to pay for yourself, I have great respect for you. However, I feel that on the few occasions that I do pay for you, it makes it more meaningful since you weren't expecting it. So, she's at the point where she's just pulling out change. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's only like $20. I'll pay for her. Even though I really didn't enjoy this date, I tell her I can pay for you. It's no big deal. But she's insistent on paying her share. I literally cannot convince her to save her own money. So we get up to the counter to pay and she seems apathetic. No longer interested in talking to me. So once we get out of Denny's I ask, hey,
Hindi ko gets yung conflict about her paying. Kung ano naman siya.
Wala, baka naka-hurt lang
Kung willing naman,
yung
kung willing naman si ate girl.
yung male ego niya.
Na-mention niya na ano, na parang getting her to save money and that. Pero ang labo. Pwede naman nilang i-split na lang.
Oo.
are you alright? You seem indifferent. She says yeah, it's just I hate the rain. It wasn't even raining. Driving nowhere really, and I ask what she wants to do. She still looks blank and says not really anything. Just want to go home. I want to keep hanging with her to see if I can make her feel better. So I throw out ideas like going to the mall, movies, bowling. She says no to all, just wants to go home. Okay, here is the major red flag. I'm driving her home and about 3-4 minutes of dead silence she says okay. So I'm going to be honest with you. The reason
Isa pa yan sa mga nakakatakot na nakakakaba. Yung I'll be honest with you. Or at least, being honest naman sila.
why I'm upset is because you made me pay for myself.
Parang ang ayaw ko
shit.
sa statement na yun. Parang, so, ilang beses ka na nagsinungaling sa akin? Parang ganun.
Oo, yun nga. Na, so ngayon ka lang magiging honest?
Di ba?
Parang pag yun, tawag doon, parang pag may nag-comment, oh, ang pretty mo today. Ngayon lang. So, ang pangit ka nung mga nakarang araw. Pero joke lang, charot lang.
I explained that she was giving me signs of not wanting me to pay for her and I respected her decision to pay for herself. Then she rambles on about her unfair she's treated and I'm just giving her the silent treatment. We get to her house and I crap you not. She looks at me and says, so, do you want to come inside for a while? I dead but look at her and say I'm sorry, but no. She walks off inside. I drive home and she's blocked me. It was my first
Crazy
date
woman.
We were in a bar that was having a cover band event. She went to get some drinks as I kept the table and comes back chatting to a guy. Seems to be her friend, but after talking to him for a while, it was her boyfriend. That was
Shit.
just back from a trip. He even had his travel. He's such a great guy. We even maintained contact for a while and after they broke up, I told him about that day. Late to the party,
Ang
but he
kulit.
knows.
Naging friend pa niya yung
Yung boyfriend, no?
yung boyfriend.
Naging pa sila, bros.
Messaged a girl a couple of times on a dating app and never heard from her again, so I thought that was the end of it. About 2 weeks later she randomly answers saying sorry for not responding but she was in a car crash and blah blah. Even sent me a picture of a crashed car. This set off some alarms but I figure frick it. So we chatted a bit.
Protect na ads yan.
So that's really going to buy them a lot more time, but is it really going to be enough? There it is, the 4-second wall. It has been summoned, it has been done. The recon dart will do absolutely nothing. It fails.
Since she wanted to meet up to smoke some weed and she was cute, so I figured why not. I arrive at her place and she gets in the car muttering something about her roommate taking a poop in the toilet and having a conversation with her while she's in the shower. Ooh. As we are driving to a spot to smoke, She starts telling me about the car crash and how it was a drunk driver that hit her and how my dad is a Hell's Angel, so I'll just get my dad and his buddies to pay him a visit. Excuse me was all I said, and she repeated what she just said, this time implying some broken bones would be made and that she might even get her dad's Hell's Angel lore to sue him as well. Now at this point we have started smoking, so I was wondering if I was hearing her right. So I asked a Hell's Angel lawyer and she freaking snapped back, that's what I just said. So needless to say she was freaking me out major by this time, and I kept looking in my rearview mirror half expecting to see her dad on his bike swinging a chain above his head. But nothing. She said some other crazy crap about working 4 jobs and that all of them were linked to the Hells Angels in some way, so after about 40 minutes of smoke and hearing all her Hells Angels stories, I politely took her home and my excuse was I had to be up early. I dropped her off and said it was nice meeting you with a smile and a wave. I cannot tell you how happy I was after I drove off. In fact, I was so happy to be away from the potential biker gang daughter that I started laughing my butt off. Full on
Wala
maniacal
na rin ako
laughter.
naintindihan.
Just pure joy kind of
Wala,
laughter.
parang
He'll never forget how happy
sisinungaling lang siya about the shit
About.
na, ano, to get away.
that laugh was, knowing I was going home to just my cat and not some crazy biker chick. Made me really appreciate being single for a while. Sweet lord. If you are new to the channel,
yun na.
you can subscribe.
Yun na yung end.
We advance.
I think okay na ako.
Alright.
Antok na ako. Ano, any last
Baka-
minute, ano,
Last
Ano,
minute.
baka ano?
Hindi. Alam ko kung
Baka-
bakit ka inaantok. Kulang ka ng vitamin
ay,
K.
hoy
Ko-
pa,
Kulang ka ng vitamin K.
parang pwede siyang maging ano, anong tawag doon?
K for kape.
Okay. Okay.
Ano. Ay, sayang. Sana
No,
inayaan
yeah.
muna kita.
Parang pwede siyang ano yun, dalawa yung meaning. Pero may third pala, which is kape.
Ay,
Okay.
ano yung meaning?
Matulog na nga tayo.
Hindi, go. Ano nga? Ano yung meaning?
Ano? Wala.
Meron eh.
Ano?
Ewan
Ikaw,
ko.
ikaw yung nagtanong.
Siguro meron.
Ano? Ano?
Ewan
Ano
ko.
na? May... Ano
Ako,
oras na ba?
yung K lang na alam ko, kape.
Kape.
Oo.
Okay.
And with that, your stream ends.
Yan na. Last na yon. Wala na. Ikaw, Byron, wala na. After nito, wala na. Bawal ng mga usi.
Hindi. Kasi may mga magkakaroon nun ng follow-up. Pero sa chat na lang.
Ano yung too many between the lines?
Hindi, ano yan?
Ano yung...
PM is the key lang, ba?
PM is the key.
Ano naman yan eh? Kapag mabilis ang mga pangyayari, wala nang between the lines yan.
Wala nang between the lines.
Wala nang between the lines yan.
Ano ba yung between the lines?
Ha? Yung read, yung saying something without really saying it. Ganun. Parang reading between the lines. What's
Reading
between
between
the
the
lines? Blah, blah, blah. So, anong favorite na kanta niya?
Hindi ko alam.
Ano yung kantang nagpakilig sa'yo recently?
Secret.
Pero kung avid listener ka ng podcast na to,
Ng
malalaman nyo. Kaya Byron, pag
ay,
mag-end na to, back from the start ka.
back from the start. Hindi, maraming commercial sa umpisa eh.
Oo nga eh, nagwa-warm up pa si Isa sa una eh. Pa-shy-shy pa eh.
Ay, syempre siya eh. O siya, magtutuna, magsitulog na tayo mga
What the
beshi.
hell? Di nga.
Anong what the hell?
Magtutuna?
Oo,
Fuck.
150 something.
Fuck.
Mahaba pa raw ang gabi ni Byron. Kailangan mo ng ano, Byron,
Oo.
vitamin K. Vitamin kape.
Hindi Byron. Basta may vitamin ka pang ano, kailangan.
Ano, vitamin C.
Hindi. Ano na yun eh.
Ano?
Ano na yun eh.
Given na.
Given na yung vitamin C eh.
Ano pa yung isa?
Ano ba? Ano nga ba?
I-PM mo na lang eh.
PM is key. Vitamin PM.
Ano? Vitamin PM. Vitamin PM is key.
Oo.
O siya, I will end the stream na.
Alright.
Ay,
Bye.
susunod na ano.
Ako naman
Susunod
ay tatapusin ko lang tong game na to, then I shall be calling it a night then.
Bye. Salamat.
Bye.
Salamat, Byron, sa sub. Ano yan?
Next time, ano na, mas malupit na yung ano.
Dapat meron ng ano, tawag doon yung points, yung channel points. ASCII, ano. Kasi di ba meron parang channel points sa Twitch? Yung parang minutes of ano, keme-keme. Tapos, yung...
I don't know Twitch anymore.
I only know YouTube.
Masaya na ako matahimik na buhay ko sa ano, sa YouTube lang.
Ipon. Ano, magdadagdag ako ng ask E for tea, ganun. Tsaka,
ayan, sige.
hindi ko ba sasagutin eh.
Goods yan.
O siya.
Alright.
Nakahanda na. Feeling ko daming tanong na tanong si Byron. Ay, hindi. Baka channel points yung nakahanda na.
Next time, Byron, maghanda ka na din ng mga malulupit na na tanong.
Malulupit na tanong.
Oo.
Yan. Basta mga tanong.
Mga life-altering questions. Gano'n.
Life-altering. 30k points na siya. Shit, nakakatakot. O siya. I will
Nakakailang osyo ka na. Alright.
nakakailang osyo na. Bye. Sana yung end. Bye.
So there we go, folks. I'm just going to finish this and we'll be calling it a night then. If you've been following that stream podcast. Sana ay na-entertain kayo. Tapos, sana naman ngayon ay makafocus na ako in actually winning. Alright, going here. Wait lang. Ayusin ko lang yung sounds. There we go. And let's go back.
¡Cayó ese héroe! ¡No! ¡Ese luchador está fuera!
Hindi yan, man. Ano lang. Repeat stream ka na lang. feel mo,
The gods bid me
feel mo ano pa rin yun. Real time.
my path becomes clear.
Jeez, ano ginagawa nitong tanks namin?
The gods are in all things.
A fine blow. Angel is not dead yet.
¡Qué brutal guillotina!
Your technique is
¡El público está que arde!
Alright.
¡Los técnicos destruyeron muy fuerte!
Seriously, no one's going top to heal. Wala namang ginagawang effort here.
You must play your part.
¡Espectacular, señores!
Shall know the taste of fear.
I'll take more of that.
¡Racha ruda!
Keep up the healing.
lend your strength.
I will find his weakness.
What a team!
¡Fuerte destruido! ¡Fuerte destruido! Referee no veía.
Precisely as it should be.
¡Muerte!
Sayang yung
Your best was easily defeated.
That's supposed to be the tough one.
finally cool down. There we go.
The minions of hell have pleased me. The gates of heaven shall lie in ruins beneath my feet.
Ahí está.
Break beneath the endless tide. I will
Estos luchadores se dieron con todo.
the gods favor.
Masacre.
I will find no rest until the light of heaven is extinguished. 1001 blessings.
Cayó ese héroe.
Pathetic.
El desenfreno de nuestro héroe se acabó.
My time has not yet come.
Ahí está. ¡Qué poder!
I shall land shortly, and I expect your welcome.
Healed up. Now
For the glory. Acquiring targets.
healing out.
Tremble before your true master.
Okay, objective time. No! I didn't click it soon enough.
Elige un talento.
The gods bid me to continue. My foe will not expect this. I must retreat.
Thanks for the heal.
For the glory.
Shit.
Healed up.
Get out of that.
I'll take more of that.
Heal and go back in.
El público está que arde.
Kill confirmed.
The battle draws.
mía, qué fuerza! ¡Tercera cuarta!
And that's GG. Woof.
¡Lo lograron! ¡Esto se acabó! Y si
All
digo
right,
que va a
folks,
llover,
and with
lleven
that, I will be
paraguas.
ending my stream. Thank you to everyone who have dropped by, who have watched. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and I hope you enjoyed that very lengthy and very spicy Pakilig podcast with Ellie. So you can check her out in her Twitch. I don't know kung nagga-gaming pa siya these days or whatever, pero you can check her out in her Twitch page if you are interested in doing more Reddit reads. As for me, you can check out my next stream whenever that will be, or you can certainly visit or watch my previous videos that I have here. May vitamin deficiency na ata ako. Hindi, ano yan, ulitin mo lang yung streams namin. Masusuplen ka ng enough vitamin C until the next stream. So with that, give this video a thumbs up, a like, and share it around the internet. Tapos, yeah, all that good stuff. Sabi ko na bang you can check out the other videos I have here while you wait for the next one to be uploaded or next time that I go online. So again, with that, folks, thank you again. Stay safe and take care. Good night. Good morning night, sabi nga nung isang friend ko dati. Stay safe and take care. Bye!